Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Secrets of the Ring. We are joined today by Raven. The date is January 28th, 2005. And how are you today?
See, I noticed you put the year in.
Why don't you explain to the people why I just put the year in?
Normally, we were just discussing before the videotape started that we're looking at all the old wrestling posters. Show one of the old posters here. The old posters. I think these are pretty cool. I love these old posters.
Yeah.
Well, we can't. We'll show one. Like we'll cut. We'll edit one in. But like the old matches where they have like Valentine versus Flair, and then or like Bearcat Wright versus Killer Kowalski. The undercard was Enrico Romero versus Johnny Valentine, and they always have the date like Tuesday, February 16th, but they never have the year, which I always thought was odd that the year's never on them. So you never know what year it was. But then like we're discussing, I guess. Obviously, if the date's coming up like next month, you know what year it is because obviously, everybody knows what year it is unless you've been in an insane asylum or an institution for a while. So Gabe made sure he mentioned the year just to entertain me.
All right, well, let's start on with the Secrets of the Ring. Why don't you explain basically what makes a good babyface character?
Good babyface character. Well, the first thing you have to be just to begin with is if you don't have charisma, as David Lee Roth would say. I mean, you're not going anywhere to begin with. I mean, you've got to be charismatic, whether you're a babyface or a heel. And ultimately, to be a top star, you got to be loved or hated. You can't be liked or disliked. I mean, you can, but that's if you want to stay in the middle of the card, because liked and disliked isn't enough, because wrestling, you have to tug on people's emotional heartstrings. I mean, you have to really, it's almost like you go to the movies and... You see some movies and it's like I don't know, like the movie Armageddon. Like I remember reading a review for Armageddon, which I thought was a great movie, but the critics thought that it was too obvious the way it punched your buttons to make sure you got the obvious emotional responses. Which in wrestling, that's exactly what you're trying to do. You want these obvious emotional responses. You want people to get the highs, the amazing highs and the super lows and the really mads and the really happies and the joys and the ups and downs. And as a babyface, you have to be able to be sympathetic. The two biggest keys are you have to get sympathy and you have to have fire. And that's all you have to do. You don't have to do a bunch of high-flying moves. You don't have to do a bunch of crazy high spots. I mean, if you can, that's great, and that's just icing on the cake. But you really have to, the two most important skills or sympathy and fire, which means you have to be able to sell, to have sympathy, and you have to be able to make a fiery comeback, because that's what a match is built for. A match is built like a pyramid, and you build to the crescendo, and the crescendo is the comeback. And there's the analogy, it's like jerking off. You jerk off till you're just about to come, but then you stop and you hold it back. And you jerk off a little more, you're just about to come and you hold it back, and you jerk off a little more, and finally when you drop your wad and it goes flying through the roof, and depending on who you are, and you shoot your wad off, and it's an amazing rush, but if you jerk off and you just blow your wad right away, it's like, and if you wait too long, then you've missed the moment and it just kind of dribbles over the top, you know what I mean? So there's that perfect peak where you get it just right, and you shoot the wad and it hits the roof, or blows the girl in the eye, and she's like, ah! Or you get it in her face, or whatever, or your boyfriend, depending on whatever your persuasion is, whatever. Sandman. Anyway, the whole thing is, so it's very important to have fire, because if you don't have that fire, you don't have that fiery comeback, you're never going to build to that crescendo, and if you don't have the sympathy, you're never going to get to that point. So those are the two skills. I mean, there's been a lot of guys, a lot of baby faces over the years that people were like, oh my God, this guy's a great baby face because he can do all these great moves. And, I don't want to bury anybody in particular, but I probably will end up burying some people throughout this thing. But, for right now, I'm going to try and not bury anyone. But there were some people back in the mid-90s who were some crazy, crazy high flyers before it was in vogue, before everybody could high fly like they can now, before all the smaller guys came in, when there was very few of that. And when 220 was a small guy, as opposed to now when 160 is a small guy. When 220 is an average size guy now, but back when I started, 220 was very small when I started. So there was a lot of guys that could do like 450s, and they're like, man, this guy's gonna be a star, because 450 was huge back then. Moonsaults, they were big, but they couldn't sell really well. so they couldn't get any sympathy. And then when it came time to fire, they didn't know how to make a fiery comeback, so they never really got over. And the office kept wondering, why isn't this guy over? Let's keep pushing him. We're doing something wrong. But no, you can push a guy all you want. You can put him in all the best storylines. But if he doesn't have that charisma and he doesn't know how to sell and he doesn't know how to fire, it doesn't matter anyway. You know, and the best way, and what I've always said before, and anybody who's read my website knows that my favorite thing about selling is it's very democratic. You don't have to be a great athlete to sell. Anybody can sell. It's the single most democratic skill, yet it's the single most important skill that you can have in wrestling. Like, you can be a 50-year-old lady and still be able to sell. You know, because there's actors and actresses that can sell, you know, that couldn't wrestle to save their life, but they can still, you know, you watch them in a fight scene or you watch them get kicked around, they're beat up and they're like, you know, they're all beat up and they hurt. You know what I mean? And that's what selling is, you know, and so selling's the most important thing, and that's what I love about it, is because everybody has the potential to do it, because it doesn't require a whole lot of athleticism, and that's the best thing about it. You know, the high flying stuff, you really have to be a super great athlete to do a lot of that stuff. But if you look back through the ages, all the biggest money making stars, the majority of them weren't the greatest high flyers. They weren't the greatest athletes. You know, they weren't the greatest, you know, in ring workers. You know, by today's definition of it, I mean, but they sold and they had fire. If they were baby faces, Tommy Rich, Dusty Rhodes, Hulk Hogan. What's more, Gabe? Ricky Morton. Well, he was pretty good. He was a hell of a high flyer, though. But I mean, back in the day. But Dusty Rhodes, he wasn't going to leave his feet. Didn't matter when Dusty Rhodes, when they beat him up, he was selling. Hulk Hogan, I mean, 300 pounds. He was the biggest guy in the company. Once they got him down, he would sell. He would shake. I mean, they would get him down. You'd be like, fuck, he's hurt. You know what I mean? Or, you know, at least as hurt as you're willing to suspend disbelief, which is the whole object. And, yeah, who's some more baby faces? Slaughter is a baby face. And he was a big guy, too, back then, 280. Some of the baby faces, Barry Windham, another big guy. Steamboat. You know, the list goes on and on, but I mean, Steamboat, another one. He was another great athlete, though. But I mean, and not that these other guys weren't great athletes, but I'm saying away from the high flyers. I mean, I'm talking about guys that were, you wouldn't go, they're great workers by today's standards. You know what I mean? Steamboat would be a great worker by any standard, you know. But
what about Dreamer?
Dreamer, yeah, he's a big fat ass. I love Tommy. He's a big fat ass, but didn't matter. When he sold, he got down, he would sell, he would shake. You're like, God damn, he's hurt. Come on, Tommy, fight back. My hero as a kid, I totally forgot, Chief Jay Strongbow. They would beat him up. In fact, as a kid, I couldn't wait to see him get beat up, just because I knew that he would make the most dramatic comeback ever. I mean, to me, it was like, and that's what the sympathy from the Heat when they beat you down, and the selling leads into the fiery comeback, and so they're inextricably tied together. You can't have one without the other to be, you know, as good as you need to be. So you get beat down, you're selling your ass off, and then when it's time, when that proper moment comes, that's when you fire back up and build into your fiery comeback. And my favorite as a kid was Chief Jay Strongbow, because he would go in his war dance. And like, I guess as a kid, like, what would happen is they would beat him up until finally he would just start shaking, and they would hit him, and he would just start to like, you know, I guess he went into his Indian trance. The phone. Answer the phone, flunky. Take care of that. Very good. We'll just sit here and listen to you answer the phone. Or unplug it. Anyway, he would go into this Indian trance, and then to where he wouldn't feel any pain anymore, which, I don't know, as a kid made perfect sense to me, because, you know, it sounded like it made sense. And to me, I still think that works. He would go into this trance, and he would start shaking, it'd hit him, and he would stop selling, and he would sell a little less, and a little less, and a little less, and finally, he would start firing up and start firing these chops, and it was the most fiery, most dramatic comeback I'd ever seen. I mean, so dramatic that you would get goosebumps. Jerry Lawler, same thing. They would beat him up till finally he just wouldn't take it anymore. And finally, he would shake, and he would shake, and he would shake, and finally he'd had enough. He'd pull the strap down, and the place would just erupt. I mean, it was orgasmic. I mean, it really, if you've never been to Memphis Coliseum when the King made his comeback, or you've never seen a tape of it, it's absolutely orgasmic. Hulk Hogan, he did the same thing back in the day. He would start shaking. All of a sudden, he was like, that's it. I'm not going to feel any more pain. I'm not going to feel the pain anymore. He'd start shaking. And then he'd gradually build up to where he felt no more pain. And he'd be like, and it's so dramatic. You know, which That's called the Superman comeback, which is a little more difficult, and it's a little more difficult to master, but it's also, to me, the most dramatic and the most fascinating, because I think it has the biggest payoff. It's also the hardest to perfect, and you have to have the right character to be able to pull it off, because it is a huge step. Most people have to go a little more gradually into their comeback, but once again, the key being selling to the point where they don't think you're going to come back anymore. So you sell to the point where they go, oh, he's not going to come back anymore, and then you fire it. Because if you're only halfway beat up, and then you fire back, well, it's not that dramatic because you're not that beat up, and that's what nobody gets. Everybody wants to stay so strong. They're like, well, I don't want to get, if I get beat up, I'll look weak. Well, see, then that is the biggest misnomer of all, because if you get beat up and you don't look weak, then you have no sympathy. And the whole thing is everybody, and if you don't look weak, people can't identify with you, because everyone can identify with getting beat up or the concept of possibly getting beat up. And let's face it, once the heel cheats to get the advantage, he already has an advantage, he should be able to beat you up. So the more beat down you are, the more dramatic your comeback is. I mean, let's face it, if you're getting beat up and you only got like a sore wrist, and then you fight back, that's not very dramatic. But if you're beat up and you're laying on the ground and your blood's pouring out of your head and drool's falling out of your mouth and you're shaking, and there's no way you can come back, but you come back, that's drama. Like that stupid TNT commercial, that's drama. But that's what wrestling is. Wrestling's a freaking drama. I'll say it again, wrestling is a drama. It's a drama. It's a drama, it's a morality play, but it's a drama in a squared circle. And until people realize that it's a drama, they'll never really advance to the next level, because if they just keep thinking it's athletics, you're never going to get the whole thing, because as much as it is athletics, it's absolutely a drama. And so the best analogy I can always give for that is, besides the jerking off thing, which there's my example of it, it's a Rocky movie. In Rocky 1, the most dramatic scene in the whole damn movie was Rocky, my food's here, come on in. I'll eat my food in a little bit. Anyway, most dramatic part of the whole damn movie was in Rocky 1, and the whole series, in my opinion, was in Rocky 1, he's getting beat down about the 13th round, and finally he gets knocked down. And the ref starts counting, and they slow it down to slow-mo, and they're like, 1. And they get to 8. 8. And his corner's going, stay down. Because he's so beat up, they don't want him to get hurt anymore. They're so concerned for his well-being that they're afraid if he gets up and answers the count, he may not live after the fight, or he may be so permanently damaged that it's going to ruin the health and well-being of the rest of his life. So they're all going, stay down. But all he does is get from the ground to his feet. Doesn't throw a punch, doesn't do a single thing offensively, but all he does is go from the ground to standing, and it's the most dramatic thing I've ever seen, because everybody's telling him to stay down. You don't think there's any chance of him getting up, even if he wanted to get up, and yet he barely caused fights, gets up. They stop the round. The round ends, but he doesn't get counted out because he gets to his feet before the 10 count. And it's the most dramatic, spine-tingling thing, like one of my favorite scenes of any movie I've ever seen. And it's so dramatic. And to me, that epitomizes what wrestling should be in the right moments. It's that drama when you're like, where the babyface can't do anymore, where he's so down and out. And yet, through that intestinal fortitude, through that heart, through that whole babyface mentality, he fights through the pain, gets to his feet, and he's still ready to go. And you're like, holy crap, what a it's mind-boggling, and that's the art of being a babyface. And if you've never seen the movie or seen the scene, go rent it. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the 13th round. I could be wrong. I misremember a lot of stuff, but that scene is so ingrained in my head. In the corner going, stay down. It's so dramatic, and that is, as a babyface, is what you should aspire to. I mean, if Hulk Hogan at 300 pounds. And for the WWF, it was the bankroll for 10 years, the biggest star in the company. If he can get beat up, stay down, sell for the entire for the entire length of his heat and whatever. I mean, I don't see why anybody else can, because let's face it, he was the biggest star on the planet for 10 years, or maybe 20 years, maybe longer, maybe ever. And if he's willing to sell, then there's no reason why anybody else shouldn't. So it's selling and it's fire. So then once you sell, so now we got the whole selling thing down. then you got to have the fire. So now when you make the comeback, whether it's the Superman comeback like Lawler or Chief Jay Strongbow or Hogan, when it's finally time to fire back, you have to come back with so much fire, so much energy, and so much pizzazz, charisma, whatever it is, that the place erupts. Because if you just start fighting back, punch, punch, go through the motions, and it's kind of dull, well, we've just invested all this energy in the drama of like cheering for you and pleading for you and begging for you to fight back. And now when you finally fight back, if you don't fight back with so much passion and fire that we gave you, then it's like, we feel let down. And that's why wrestling is different from any other sport, because it's inter-emotional. It's like in baseball, the fans cheer, nothing really happens. Football, the fans cheer, nothing happens. In golf, nothing happens. But in wrestling, when the fans cheer, it ignites something in the babyface, and the babyface fights back. When the fans cheer, the heel gets mad, like, he gets all pissed off because they're annoying him. The fans cheering actually has an influence on what's going on in a match, which does not happen in any other sport. And people don't pay attention to that. You watch all these crazy high flyers, they don't listen to the crowd. They're just doing their moves to do their moves, which is great, and I have nothing against it. And people think I have a problem with that. I don't. I just wish that they would do it using psychology and selling with it, and then they would have. Then I'd be awed. I would be awed. And there are a few that do, or trying to, at least. Daniels and AJ Styles being two that are really working on it. Sanjay Dutt as well, working on it, being the key. Some of them are closer than others, and I have no doubt that they'll get there eventually. So it's not the style that I'm against. It's just the way they're. It's not the high flying that they're against. I mean, I know I'm on a tangent. It's not the high flying I'm against. It's the way that's being used. It's what it's doing is it's every bit as damaging to the business as the whole Road Warrior clones that no sold. Because the Road Warriors came in and no sold everything. So everybody wanted to be a Road Warrior, and they no sold everything. And that was so damaging to the business. This is a new version of that. Everybody comes in, flies around, doesn't sell anything. It's the exact same thing. It's much more entertaining. It's much more entertaining. It's much more. Well, actually, let me phrase that. It's much more entertaining than a lot of the stiffs, but it's no more entertaining than the Road Warriors were when they first started. They were fucking unbelievably entertaining, and so was a bunch of the other clones that came in right afterwards. But it ran its course. The high flying shit is fascinating to watch, except it's running its course because they're doing the same thing. They're prostituting the whole thing, running and flying, without selling and making it mean something. So, I got off on a tangent here, but just to clarify my opinions, because anybody who follows, I guess if you're buying this tape, then you probably are familiar with my theories and my theories on wrestling. So I want to clarify things so you understand where I'm coming from. What was selling fiery comeback? So we're devoting all this energy and passion to you as a fan. I mean, as a fan to the wrestler, and then you as a wrestler, if you just spit it back out like punch, well, we feel like you shit on us. I mean, you didn't give us back what we gave to you, so it's not very fascinating to us. Now, if you come firing, boom, boom, like The Rock. Rock's a fiery ass comeback. That's exciting. You have to get Shawn Michaels. You have to give us back what we gave to you. It's only fair. Speaking as a fan, if we give you all this passion and all this, and we scream our guts out for you, it's only fair that you come back to us with that kind of fire. However, I have to make one caveat. One exception to the rule is if you are that beat up, you can't just not be beat up. Unless if you're going to do a Superman comeback, that's one thing, which is an exception to the rule. What I always hate is when a guy fires back up and forgets to keep selling, because remember, you can always fire back and sell. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves in the business is once guys take back over, they're like, oh, okay, it's my turn. I don't have to sell anymore. Well, actually, I don't even think they think that. I just think that they're so wrapped up in what they're doing that they completely forget to sell, which to me is so bullshit. It's so Bush League, and I fucking hate it because, I think if you're going to work at this level, then you need to be better than that. And I think when it's time to fire up, if you've been selling your leg, you can make that fiery comeback, but you can still be limping on that leg. If you're jumping, if you're firing up, it's like bam, bam. You can still be hopping on one leg. If the guy's working your left arm, you can still punch with the right. Your arm, bam, bam, and you can still sell your arm between punches. You throw a couple punches, damn, my arm hurts. Boom, bump the guy, backdrop, fire up, sell your arm. you always go back to the cell because you have to. Otherwise, it makes no sense. Otherwise, it's like, why don't we just spend all this time rooting for you, hoping you would fight back from this injury, and all of a sudden, oh, you don't have an injury. I don't have an injury no more. You know, it's bullshit. In fact, it's, you know, it's not just guys on the lower level, it's guys on the top level. In fact, it's almost everybody in the business, which is fucking exasperating to me, because it's one of the single biggest problems in this business. How hard is it to remember that after you fire up, bam, bam, stop for a sec, just for 1 sec, sell, shake it off, fire up, god damn, that hurts, boom, 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 backdrop, whatever, and go back to that injured part, fire up again. I mean, it doesn't take but half a second. All it takes is half a second to remember, and then what makes that so great is, then when it's time for the guy to cut you off, all he's got to do is just crank your arm, and you're right back on your face, you know, flat down on your face or whatever it is. It's that simple. However, if you don't keep selling that body part, he's got to start all over again. And it becomes this ridiculous thing where, and that's why in these cruiserweight matches especially, I watch it, and it's like, man, I love watching the athleticism. I mean, I'm awed by it. I think the athleticism is phenomenal, and if I could do it, oh my God, it'd be great. I wish I could. I don't have that kind of athleticism. But I watch it and I'm like, and I get so disgusted because I watch it and I'm like, you know, it's kind of like you watch a movie, and when you're watching a movie, you agree to suspend disbelief. You completely agree to suspend it. You're watching a movie, and you're like, yeah, it's a great gladiator movie, and the gladiators are fighting, yeah. And all of a sudden, one gladiator looks at his Rolex to see what time it is. And you're like, he's wearing a fucking Rolex. What the fuck's he wearing a Rolex for? He's got a Rolex on. They don't have Rolexes in gladiator times. It doesn't make any fucking sense. How would it make any sense? It's the same thing when all of a sudden you've been beat up for 10 minutes, you're selling your ankle's fucking killing you, and all of a sudden you're not limping anymore. Why aren't you fucking limping? It doesn't make any fucking sense. You know? Or like guys will be like, even worse is guys will be in the heat, they'll be selling in the heat, selling, and all of a sudden it'll be time for them to cut the guy off to do a double down, so all of a sudden they climb to the top, they look around to the crowd, yeah! They hit the move, and then they go right back on the cell. How the fuck does that make any sense? All of a sudden you're on the top rope going, hey, look, I'm not hurt, I'm going to get the guy. And then you hit the guy. Oh, but now I'm hurt. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And I fucking hate the fact that then you read the fucking internet or the sheets or whatever, and all these guys are getting put over for how great they are. It's not great. It's really good. There's some great athleticism, but that's not working. That's athletics. That has nothing to do with work. It has nothing to do with drawing money. And you're not going to get fucking the right kind of... People don't know what they couldn't tell you when they're watching it why it doesn't look right, but it doesn't look right. And the average fan is not going to pay money to see that, at least in my opinion. They don't know why, but it just doesn't look right. I mean, it'd be like...
You think it's kind of like it emotionally takes them out of it because...
It exactly emotionally takes them out of it, but they don't know why. They could never tell you why. It'd be like... Speaking of gladiators, in that movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe. And remember fucking... Joaquin Phoenix, or whatever I pronounce his name, stabs him with the knives, right? And remember Russell Crowe's on the cell the rest of the movie at the end. Imagine if all of a sudden he stopped selling those 2 knives, right, the rest of the movie. You'd be like, what the fuck? Why isn't he selling those 2 knives? He just got fucking shanked by fucking Joaquin Phoenix. You know, you'd be like, what the fuck? Right? It wouldn't make any sense to you. Well, how is wrestling any fucking different? It isn't any different. You know what I mean? Can you imagine if like, you know, the director should come out. You know, Keith Mitchell should come out there in a match and go, hey, moron, what the fuck are you doing? You know, could you imagine Ridley Scott, if Russell Crowe just stopped selling? Ridley Scott would come out there and fucking hit him with a baseball bat. Say, listen, moron, what are you doing? You just got shanked. You know, this is the whole dramatic thing is you're barely conscious. You just fought everybody. Now you've been shanked by fucking Joaquin Phoenix. You know, on both sides, you can barely stand up. And you're not going to sell it? You're not going to sell it? Are you fucking kidding me? And yet, wrestler, and yet we do that, you know, all the fucking time, every day, day in, day out. You know, no offense, Gabe, but your guys are some of the worst culprits of it. You know what I mean? You know, TNA has a lot of guys like that too. I mean, it's really bad, and it's every bit as bad as the fucking Road Warriors changing the business to no sellers. Because what happened was the Road Warriors came in, everybody wanted to be like them, so we got a whole bunch of big meatheads. Big jacked up guys that didn't want to sell. Then what happened is Shawn Michaels got over, and we got a whole new generation of guys that wanted to come in. Now see, Shawn does sell, But unfortunately, they didn't see that. All they saw was, oh, look at the cool high flying. So we got a bunch of smaller guys that came in and want to be like Sean, a bunch of high flyers, except that they missed out on all the subtlety, all the real work that he's doing. Because what he's doing, the stuff you do, the moves are not the work. The working is what you do between the moves. What the moves are the performing. You know, it's like Austin said. Austin goes one day, he goes, we don't work anymore, we just perform. We just write down a little script, we go, hey, I'll do this, you do that, you do this, and we just perform. We just perform the whole script. And that's all it is, that's performing, it's not working. It's what you do between the moves. It's when you come up with stuff out there on the fly and change it and do that's working. You know, and we don't work anymore, or at least most of us don't work, you know what I mean? I prefer working to performing. I like to set up a lot of stuff, but I like to be able to work in between it and ad lib, and I like to, and to me it's the stuff that goes on, that to me, it's like, what do they say, it's the, is about art. I mean, I can't paint or do anything, but then isn't art what you do between the spaces? Isn't that what they say? I don't know if anybody's an artist. You know, whatever. I mean, there's some quote like that, so I'm not sure what it is, but it's very similar. I think music's the same way, which once again, I don't have any musical skill either. In fact, I have no artistic, you know, if I didn't have wrestling as a creative outlet, I would have no place, like that's my creative outlet, you know what I mean? Like I always wondered why, you know, for a guy who has as bright as I claim to be, you know, I was like, fuck, why don't I have any outlet for my, you know, I have no discernible skill level, you know, for a guy with my IQ level, I have no discernible skill to point at, you know, like, you know, I don't have a musical skill or an artistic skill or, you know, I'm not an engineer, but I have a wrestling skill, you know what I mean? So maybe that's, you know, that's my skill level. But to me, it infuriates me that guys don't seem to care or don't seem to want to care, but I mean, it's what goes on between the moves, and nobody cares. And that's the part where people don't think that's the hardest part, because a lot of times you're doing nothing between moves, and that scares the shit out of people, because that's when you're open, you're naked, you're self-conscious, you have nothing going on. You know, so many guys are terrified to be doing nothing. You know, when they're not, what's going on between the moves, they're rushing, they're scrambling, they're trying to do anything, or they're busy thinking of the next move, which you shouldn't be. You should be living in the moment. If you're beat up, you shouldn't be worried about what the next move is. You should be fucking worried about what you're doing right now. Fuck, I'm beat up. I should be selling. Goddamn, I'm hurt. Goddamn. Fuck. And then be thinking, okay, what would I do next? You know what I mean? Instead of going, okay, let's see, what's next? Okay, I'm going to jump off the ropes and I'm going to do a flip. Oh, that'll be cool. I'll flip, and he'll catch me, and then we'll flip some more. You know, then and then just putting shit in just to put shit in. You know, it what goes on between the moves is that's where the art is. That's where working is. So back to my point, is Shawn Michaels came in. All these guys wanted to be like him. He's brilliant, but they missed the brilliance. All they saw was the athleticism and not the brilliance that makes up the package. So now we got a whole bunch of guys, you know, hundreds of guys that got in the business that want to be smaller, high-flying guys, which is great. Except now they've proliferated. They've overrun the business with a bunch of stuff, except their work and now has really dragged it to a different level. Hey, athletically, it's great, you know what I mean? But psychology-wise, it's never been worse. I mean, it's never been worse, you know what I mean? You know, I mean, at least you're never going to have the boring, lazy matches of the early 80s, which is great, because that was really stinking out the joint, you know what I mean? However, all those guys could at least work when they had to. Every one of them, or at least not every one of them, but at least the majority of them could at least work, you know? They could at least, you know, they didn't have to perform. They could at least actually work a match. You know what I mean? They knew what to do between the moves. Unfortunately, the business got really lazy. I was one of them. I'll admit I was as bad as anybody else. My drug habit got really bad, and I got really lazy myself. So what I do love is I love the work ethic they have. So I'm not taking that away from them. But without work ethic, athleticism, without knowledge or without focus, to me it's good, but it's not great, and I think it's really damaging the business, you know? And I think it's going to damage it for years to come unless we change that, because the further and further we get away from learning how to work, there's going to be no one left to teach it, you know? So who are they going to learn from? Because the guys now coming up who are the best guys don't know fucking word one about working. And they think they do, but they don't. So they're going to teach more people, and they're going to teach more people. Now you got all these guys opening schools that were just jobbers to begin with who don't know how to work. So they're training people. So you have so many guys now who don't know how to work in the business. The majority of people in the business don't know how to work. They just know how to perform. And I think that's really, really bad for the business. You know? So the babyface thing, finally, the most important things. It's sympathy, which is selling, and it's a fiery comeback, and that's it. Now, if you can do all the crazy 450s and all that shit, that's great. That makes it so much better. Absolutely. It's unnecessary. It helps, but it's unfucking necessary. It definitely helps, though. But all you got to do is be able to fucking sell and fire. Sell and fire. That's it. Dusty Rhodes, one of the biggest stars, probably one of the 10 biggest stars in the history of the planet. The history of the planet. That's all he did. You know what I mean? That's all he had to do. Hogan, same thing. Definitely one of the 10 biggest stars. Austin, same thing. Selling fire. Selling fire. They beat the crap out of him. He was a fiery motherfucker. You know, that's how he got over. You know, they put him in some nothing happening feud with Savio Vega, and he just got over it like nobody's business because he sold like a motherfucker and he was a fiery son of a bitch, you know? And then that enabled him to cut the promo, you know, Austin 316. But Austin 316 didn't just come out of nowhere and get him over. You know, it was what he did that led up to Austin 316 that got him over.
What are some of the subtle things that a babyface can do to get sympathy?
He can kill himself. No, subtle things to get sympathy. Well, I mean, let's not do subtle things. I mean, subtle things are the little things that are going to be everywhere. Okay, let's talk about the big things. The subtle things are going to be more. All right, let's define our terms first. I think the subtle things are going to be more the little quirks that everybody has of their own particular niche, their own particular character, like the way they sell, the particular idiosyncrasies of their own particular character. Like, let me think of an example. Like Cactus. Cactus would always be like, and he'd always, when he'd go down, he'd be like, like he would hit himself a little bit and he'd have his own little quirks, you know what I mean? His own little subtle things. Some people may, everybody had their own little quirks, and they just, I hate to repeat myself, but that's what it is. They have their own little tics that make them separate. So those, I think, and the subtle things are the things you come up with while you're doing it. And those are the things part of working as opposed to performing. It's like I'll be in the ring and I'll think of little subtle things to do that are going to get me more over. And a lot of times those are the things I'll just come up with on the spur of the moment. Like I'll just be selling, and as a babyface, I'll be like, ooh, I can do this, or as a heel, if I'm getting heat, I'm like, ooh, this could be interesting. And you try different things, but I'd rather talk about the big things that everybody needs to do. And part of that is all right, when first of all, when you start a match, let me cut a little. Before I get to that, let me get into this a little bit into a different way. Come into it a slightly different angle. In a match, everybody knows. Oh, maybe they don't know because maybe people. You know what? I'm kind of amazed. Maybe people don't know. So let me actually go to the very beginning. This is how a match works. This is basic match psychology, and until you've mastered this, I don't think anybody should try and do any different psychology. Period. Until they perfected it. This is basic. This is match psychology 101. And I probably should have started this in the very beginning, but it's so obvious to me, and it's so obvious to you. But you know what? It's you would really be surprised how few people actually get this. You know what I mean? Or actually know this. The match starts. The babyface and the heel wrestle, and this is why you also always have to have a heel. Why there has to be babyface and heels, and even when you have two babyfaces together, one has to be subtle heel because there has to be a set of heat, otherwise there's no comeback. And it doesn't have to be like real heat, like vicious heat, but it has to be a subtle thing so you can have a comeback so you can build to a finish. Otherwise, it's not going to have the same sort of crescendo like I talked about before, the orgasmic crescendo. Now, I've seen some babyface matches where they had good matches, that didn't go that way, but but they would have had, in my opinion, they would have had an even bigger response towards the finish if they would have done it as a babyface and a slightly subtle heel. And they don't have to turn yourself heel. You just have to, one guy just has to take the advantage, and once he gets the advantage, keep it. But let's, for argument's sake, and that's a little more advanced, let's just stay with babyface and heel. The babyface and the heel wrestle. The babyface gets the advantage because he's either a little better, a little smarter, a little stronger, a little more athletic, or he's got a little more heart and a little more intestinal fortitude, but somehow he manages to out-wrestle the heel. Finally, the heel, through a despicable means, whatever, through cheating, through whatever, gets the advantage. If the heel just out wrestles the babyface to get the advantage, it's not as interesting. He doesn't have to do much. Maybe just grabs a handful of hair and then he can suplex him, bump him, do whatever. But he should always try and do something just slightly heelish, just to slightly turn the tide, just to give himself the advantage. Because otherwise, Otherwise, he just out wrestles the babyface, and that doesn't lend itself to any kind of heat. Unless your character already has enough heat, which is different. But if your character doesn't really have any heat to begin with, then you really need to go out of your way to get some. And some characters are going to have more than others by nature of who and what they are. Stevie Richards is always going to have heat. You know, he's just one of those guys you just want to punch in the face. You know, I love Stevie to death, but Stevie's going to have heat. DDP as a heel is always going to have heat. But he was just so over as a babyface after so much time that now he's going to be a babyface. Shane Douglas, another heel, you just want to punch him in his face. You know what I mean? You look, he's talking, he's like, I just want to punch him in his face. You know what I mean? He's a good heel. He's a really good heel. He really believes in what he's doing. And that's another thing, too, is you got to commit to it. Always commit to your character. If you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe in your character and you don't believe in whoever you're portraying, the audience ain't going to believe it. Because if you don't believe it, why the fuck would they believe it? So the babyface out wrestles the heel. Finally, the heel, through whatever means, gets the advantage. And then once he has the advantage, he can beat the crap out of the babyface. Because once he's got the advantage, he can hit him with any move he wants, whatever. He's already got the advantage, and he beats the crap out of the babyface. Beats him down, beats him down, beats him down, to the point where the babyface doesn't look like he has any chance of coming back. And then finally, through the crowd cheering for him, and his intestinal fortitude, and that's why the crowd's such a part of the match. Because the crowd getting behind him, and the babyface having that intestinal fortitude that he's going to overcome all odds, he fights through all the pain and overcomes the babyface, overcomes the heel's vicious attack to finally mount an offense, either makes a comeback, and then you go into the finish. It's that simple. The babyface shines, the heel gets heat, the babyface makes a fiery comeback, you go home. It's that fucking simple. And you shouldn't deviate from that until you've perfected it. And if you have to think about whether you perfected it or not, you haven't. Because if you have to think about it, you definitely haven't perfected it. It's that fucking simple. I mean, it's that fucking simple. However, as simple as it is, it's actually really complex. It's very simple to say it, but it's actually much more complex to execute it well, to execute it really well. And that's what I like about it. That's what makes it so interesting. Is it's a very simple idea, but it's so complex to really perfect it. So babyface shines, heel gets heat, babyface makes a fiery comeback. Where are we? I'm off on a tangent. What's your original question?
We're talking about how to get sympathy.
Okay, how to get sympathy. So now the heel's got heat on you, right? So the heel stops you somehow, and you get sympathy. So you sell. Well, I always believed that the heel should call the match. The only time I don't think the heel should call the match is, well, I mean, let's face it, nowadays the whole match is set up in the back, which I think is bullshit. You know, I think a lot of the heat should be set up in the ring. I mean, I think you should, like, especially during the heat, I think there should be some ideas of what you're going to do. Like, hey, I might do this move. Like if I'm wrestling Gabe, I'll tell Gabe, look, here's 3 or 4 moves that I do most every match. I might get these in, I might not. These might happen. Here's a little hope spot we might do. Here's something we might do, and we might not. These might happen, they might not. So I give him an idea of what may occur, or they may not occur. And then I start getting my heat. And then I'll make up some stuff on the spot. I'm like, ooh, like, once I start going, things pop into my head. That's working. I'm like, oh, this is a good idea. The crowd's buying this. Maybe I was only going to give him one Russian into the guardrail, one Russian leg sweep into the guardrail. But the crowd really rocks for it. So maybe I give him a second one. Maybe they're really rocking. I'm like, fuck, I'll give them a third. You know what I mean? Maybe now they're really rocking. So I'm like, I'm going to go for another one, let them reverse it, something, and give me one. Boom, we have like a minor double down type situation on the floor, because that's what seems like it's going to work there. You know, we might not have had that planned, but the way the crowd's rocking, that's something I want to do. So now all of a sudden, that takes up 3 minutes when I was only going to do, when we had 3 minutes planned in the ring. So now I'm just going to cut that part off in the ring, because it's not necessary anymore. You do what's going to work, not what you have set up, which is why it's called work and not performing. When you just do what you set up ahead of time, it's just you're being like a trained SEAL, which sometimes that works best. Hey, I'm not going to argue, but a lot of times it doesn't. I like the potential to be able to freewheel out there. Plus, with the heel calling a match, if the heel doesn't call a match, the tempo is always set by the heel, because it's so much harder to tell. Because okay, the heel has to be able to. God, it's so hard to explain. The heel has to set the tempo. He has to know when to tie up, when not to tie up. He has to be able to slow the match, speed it up. If a babyface tries to do it, it's so much harder to set a tempo as a babyface, because everything's on the heel because the heel does the stalling, he does the delaying, he does the gaga, he works the crowd more. He does so much more interacting with the audience and so much more interacting with the ref and so much more, there's so much more shtick, gaga, and Shakespeare going on that the heel has to call it because the babyface can't, because he won't be in a position to convey to the heel what needs to be done. So that's why the match has to be on the heel's terms. And so the heel's going to be calling the match. And so to me as a heel, I always tell my babyfaces, I go, look, you're going to have to trust me. You're going to want to fight back in a lot of spots. If you trust me, don't. Let me tell you when to fight back because I know when the best time is. 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to start fighting back when I have a spot planned, and by you fighting back, you're going to throw my whole spot off. I may have come up with a great hope spot, but you start throwing punches at me, now I got to cut you off, and I can't do my hope spot, which probably would have been better than you throwing a bunch of punches anyway. And what happens is also is the babyface is always like, well, fuck, I'm getting beat up, I feel stupid. The audience is cheering for me, I got to fight back. No, you don't have to fucking fight back. Why do you have to fight back? You're getting the shit kicked out of you. The guy has the advantage. He took the advantage by cheating. He has the advantage. Why do you have to fight back? You don't have to fight back. Then you hear all the old timers go, you got to show fire. You know what fire is? Remember I told you about the Rocky movie? Fire is just being able to get up off the fucking canvas. If you're selling properly, if you're selling correctly, enough fire, if you're that good a seller, fire to me is just like Rocky getting off the mat. That was fire. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he got up. That shows fire. Throwing punches shows fire, but 9 times out of 10, if you watch it, the guy throws punches, the guy at the heel just sells them anyway. He goes, and just cuts you off. So A, it makes your punches look like dog shit. B, the heel has to sell it because he already had a plan in his head anyway. And C, you're just getting cut off anyway. So did it really show fire, or did it just make your punches look like dog shit? Plus, if you start fighting back, you start coming to your feet throwing punches, well, hell, you've already made your damn comeback. Now he's got to cut you off. He's got to start the heat all over again. Once you come to your feet as a babyface throwing punches, the heat's over. It's got to be started all over again. So to me, I tell my babyfaces, stay on the fucking mat. Start to sell. I want you to sell. I want you to always be selling. If I need you, I'm going to fucking pick you up. I'll pull you around. I'll tell you what to do. Listen to me. Let me call the fucking match. All right? If you're working with somebody less experienced, it's going to be a little difficult, and you're going to have to work around that. You're going to have to work around those parameters. But remember, you don't have to throw 80 punches to stay strong. All you got to do is fucking or put the camera on me on the ground. I can spend 5 minutes trying to get up off the ground. This to me shows fire. If I just got bumped like a big huge bump, right, and I'm laying there, right. I don't have to get up off the ground and throw punches to throw fire. I can just be like, and that's showing fire. You're just trying to get up. That shows heart. That shows intestinal fortitude. I could have spent 5 minutes doing it, but I don't think anybody wants to see me laying there huffing and puffing for 5 minutes. My point being, though, is that that shows fire. I don't have to throw a bunch of punches. The heel can be busy doing a bunch of gaga. He can be parading around, getting his heat, milking the crowd. And then right there, and you see also how I'm wide open. My chest and my face are wide open, so he can come over and kick the crap out of me. I'm not all covered up like this, so he can't get a clean shot. Also, I'm wide open so the audience can see me. Because you want to be wide open so everyone can see you. If you're all covered up like this and you're facing the ground, nobody can see your face. Nobody can see the pain and the anguish that you're fighting through. What's the point if they can't see the pain and the anguish? They can't feel it. I mean, nobody in the audience can feel it. All they can do is see it. So if you can't make them see it, what's the fucking point? So I'm wide open like this, trying to get up. God damn, man, I'm reaching. God, I'm just reaching to try and get up. Here comes the fucking heel. Boom, kicks me in the fucking face. Down I go again. Didn't do anything. But fuck, I was trying. And that shows fire. And that's all you got to do as a babyface. And if you got a good heel, even a bad heel, he's going to see you there trying to get up. He's just going to come kick the crap out of you, knock you right back down. You don't have to get up. It's overrated getting up. In fact, getting up is stupid. Because once you're to your feet, now if I get all the way up to my feet, and I'm like this, well fuck, how hurt could I be if I'm already on my feet standing? If I'm throwing punches, do I really look fucking hurt? Now, to me, if I'm a babyface and I finally make it to my feet, I'll throw punches like this. Bam. You know, so at least I'm fucking hurt. You know what I mean? At least I look like, bam. You know, at least I'm fucking doubled over in fucking agony if I have to get to that point, which sometimes you do, depending on the match, depending on the time, depending on the opponent. There's a lot of factors. For the most part, though, shorter matches, which most of you are going to be involved in under 12-minute matches, under 10-minute matches, you don't have to be getting up and throwing 87 punches. Let the heel keep you alive. And tell him, say, look, keep me alive. And you tell him before the match, say, look, you know, keep me alive. If you feel like you're dying down there and you feel like he's not doing anything for you, just when he goes to pick you up, say, look, give me something here. Give me a small package. I'll schoolboy you. Whatever, you know. Set up a few hope spots. I would much prefer hope spots like, I'll shoot the guy off. If I'm a babyface, or if I'm the heel, I'll shoot the guy off. I'll go for a backdrop. Boom, the guy kicks me. He comes charging. Maybe I'll drop toe him out to the floor. Whatever. I mean, simple stuff. But the key being is, and I always tell him, whenever I'm picking you up and you're running the ropes, don't be running them like it's opening spot. You need to be running them like you're out on your feet. You know, and if you're going to kick me, you get a shot. And if you're going to be running and boom, and you're going to, you know, I'm bent over for a backdrop and you're going to kick me, bam, you know, stagger a bit. Because you're not fresh anymore. I just beat the shit out of you. You know what I mean? It's a desperation. It's like all the strength you have left is spent. Bam. You know, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of room, so it'd be a little, you know, better. But you get my point. You know, it's desperation. It's not opening match flippity floppity time. It's you're barely fighting. You're fighting for your life, is what you're trying to convey to the people. And if you're not conveying that, you're not doing your job. To back up a little bit. A lot of times guys are getting ready to go to their match and it's like, oh, they go, your time's cut. Let's say you have a 10-minute match and they go, hey, listen, you only got 6 minutes now. 5 minutes. I'm sorry, let's make it a little simpler. Say you have an 8-minute match and they go, you only got 4 minutes now. What? 4 minutes? Okay, wait, let's cut this out. Let's cut that out. Cut the shine out. The babyface shine. It is absolutely, completely unimportant to a match. It's the only part of the match that's unimportant. It doesn't mean anything. It's worthless.
Can you explain real quick what the babyface shine is?
Babyface shine is the beginning where the babyface gets over, then the heel gets heat, then the babyface makes a comeback. Shine, heat, comeback. Babyface shines in the beginning, like I told you before. Babyface gets over in the beginning because he's a better worker, better athlete, more intestinal fortitude, whatever, more heart. Then the heel gets heat, and then the babyface makes a comeback. Cut out the shine. It's not important. Because if you think about it, the whole match is geared for the comeback, like I told you. Now, if you cut out some of the heat, well, then you're not really building for the comeback, are you? So if you decide to go, well, look, I need to keep my shine in because I got to get over, you know, because it's your fucking egotistical babyface. And even if that's what you're really doing by saying I got to keep my shine. Well, if you cut some of the heat out, if there's not enough heat, then how good's your comeback going to be? Because if you're not that beat up, then your comeback's not going to mean anything. So you're really fucking yourself. You think, oh, I'm getting over. We'll cut out some of his heat so I'll get over. Well, no, you're not getting over. Because by not having enough heat, that means your comeback's going to be worth shit. Because if you're not beat down to the point where you can barely fight back, then you're not going to have that big dramatic comeback. Like I said, if you're only beat up a little bit, then it's not much of a comeback. So you want a lot of heat. You actually want the guy to get his heat on you. And if you feel like you're going to get ripped off a little bit, take a slightly longer comeback then. So if you get cut like from 8 to 4, just say, hey, look, I don't need my shine. Take my shine out, but I'm going to throw in a bump or two extra in the comeback. That's all. If you even need the extra bump or two, which chances are you won't. So you say you start the match, you lock up, the heel stops you, boom, right into the heat. Heat. Now you got the crap kicked out of you, finally, boom, fiery comeback, bam, 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 boom, and into your finish. Now think about it this way. If you cut out a lot of the heat, you know, to make it even, okay, I'll cut out the heat, you cut out some shine, I cut out the heat, shine, a little bit of heat. And now a comeback, well, how fiery could it be? Because you really weren't beat up. There's no drama. Remember, it's a drama. So whenever you're faced with that dilemma, I tell everybody, just cut out the shine. It's fucking simple. Cut the shine out. It's not important. Where's my water at? Let me throw my water. It's not important. The shine's the least important part of the match. It's completely useless. I mean, it's not useless, I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. It's completely
It's not necessary.
unnecessary. I know. I mean, it's good to have if you can get it in there, but it's not. It's that is a word I'm looking for. I can't think of.
Crucial to building the match.
Yeah, it's not crucial. But that was just a word I was looking for. I can't think of. But it's not. The word's not important. But just whatever. You get a word stuck in your head, you want to say it, but I can't think of it.
You mentioned hope spots. Why don't you explain what hope spot
All right.
is?
Well, let's stay with the babyface thing.
Okay,
I'll get to that in a sec. So the things to get over is babyface. So you want to sell, so you want to let the heel get beat up on you. When you're selling, you're beat down. You want to always open up your body so the heel can get a shot at you. You don't want to be covered up. You don't want to be covered up so where nobody can get a clean shot. You always want to have your face out. You never want to be looking at the mat because the camera, there's no one can look at your face. Your face is everything. The people can't see, people can't feel it. They can only see it and hear it. And that's why I like the stuff where like the kicks with the leg slaps get over so good because people go, ooh, I heard that, wow. You know what I mean? Because if you punch a guy in the face, it makes a noise. You know what I mean? Which is, I think, why stomping came in, because it covers up the fact that there's no noise. Because if you really punch a guy in the face, you hear a big pop. You know what I mean? So when you're working a punch and you punch the guy and there's no noise, people go, hey, there's no noise. Which is, I believe, probably why stomping the mat came in. I would assume that. At least that's my theory on it. And but that's why stuff like super kicks where they slap the leg gets the really big pop, because they go, ooh, fuck. That sounds more like you actually hit the guy because you can hear it. You know what I mean? They can hear it, they can see it, but they can't feel it. So if they can't see your face, that's why the masked men had it really tough. Like they really had to show with their arms because they didn't have a face because it was covered to display how much pain and anguish or how much whatever, how mad they were or whatever. So they really had to be good at their body motion and convey it. So, and the sad thing is all you guys that don't have masks on, and a lot of, so many guys today, they act like they have masks on because the whole match is like this. Here's their face when they're mad. Here's their face when they're happy. Here's their face when they're selling. I mean, they'd be great at poker for that poker commercial. What's your girlfriend just left you? Hey, your girlfriend just fucked your best friend. Hey, he's $1 million. But I'm telling you, I watch a lot of these matches. That's what it's like. It's fucking retarded. Hang on a sec. My snot rag that I invented, not the Sandman. Anyway, remember that, kids. Don't try this at home. Anyway, actually, do try it at home. Anyway, so the point being is that what the hell was I talking about? I lost my track there. What was I just talking about, Gabe?
The snot rag.
No, right before the snot rag. No.
What do we got?
Well, fuck, is everybody that fucking dumb as me? Hold on. We're just talking about...
You were talking about cutting out the shot.
After the shot, no, just now. Before I blew my nose, I was talking about something. I just totally slipped my mind.
Oh, everyone making wearing
the mask, yeah. So everybody, so that's the whole thing. So your face is so important. Lawler was great. Lawler made the best faces. I mean, that's all it is. You go to movies, you watch a bunch of actors. Imagine if the actors were like, yes, I want to fuck you. Oh my God, I am so in love with you. I really care for you. You'd be like, what? This sucks ass. Imagine if Mel Gibson, in Lethal Weapon, when he's getting fucking, I love that scene where he's hanging from the chain, and then he fucking figure fours the Chinese guy's head and chokes him out. Which I always used to do that, try to get that spot in when I was in the hardcore matches in the WWF with Al Snow. I'm like, yeah, let me hang from the roof and I'll figure four your head. And he's like, he's clamping down. But imagine if he's just like this. And then then he's fighting and they're beating him up and they're torturing him. He's like, you'd be like, what the fuck? Come on, Mel. That doesn't hurt. What? Or if Rocky, when he's getting beat up, he's like, Apollo's hitting him. He's like, oh, that really hurt, Apollo. Ow. Ooch. Ouch. So what the fuck are you doing that for? I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. Your face is so important. It's such an important part of the match. Make some faces. If you're mad, you're like, motherfucker. If you're angry, you're like, fuck you. If you're sad, you're like, well, Matt's kind of overacting, but, if you're happy, you're like, whatever. And so if you're looking down at the mat, can anybody see my face? No. That's stupid. At least look to the side, so at least one side can see you. And if you're on TV, one of the cameras is going to pick you up, one of the handheld or the hard camera. At least, and if it's a house show and there's no cameras, at least one side of people are going to see you at all times. You know what I mean? Always have your face out. Always open your body if you can. Sometimes you can't because you're on your belly. You know what I mean? you want to feed your opponent. Another very important thing. Let's say you're getting beat up, boom, 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 and you know the next spot you're going to be shot off the ropes. Well, and you're in the middle of the ring. Well, why not sell your way to the ropes? Why wait in the middle of the ring getting beat up and wait for them to pick you up to take you to the ropes? Why not, when you're in a cell, start selling and start crawling for the ropes like you're trying to get to the ropes to help pull yourself up? And just as you're pulling yourself up, oh, there he is, and he shoots you off. Isn't that much better? See, to me, it's like a match should not look choreographed at all, but it should flow together like precision. I mean, it should just be a tight thing of beauty like that, but it shouldn't look choreographed. Like I watch a lot of those spots, and they look so choreographed, but they don't have to. It's because they make them look choreographed because they just all go doop doop, and because their faces are like, and then they land and they pick them up and they throw them behind and like, okay, shoo. You know, whereas if they took the time to rough it up, because it looks like a dance then instead of a fight. If they took the time to grab and they crank it, and then the guy spins around, what the fuck? Boom, stop, and then half a second pause. Boom, and then he jumps behind him. Then he catches him, spins him around, boom, what the fuck? You know, and all of a sudden, now it's very choreographed, but it doesn't look it. That's the difference. It should never look choreographed. Hey, it can be choreographed to perfection, but it shouldn't look that way. It should look like a fight, not a dance. You want to open your body up. You want to feed the guy. You want to feed where you're going. That's another great thing about about working instead of performing. If the heat's much more open to, fluidity, as opposed to being a set, perfect move. When I'm a babyface and I'm selling, let's say I'm in a hardcore match and I'm selling on the floor, I'll come up with an idea. I'll maybe I'll see something I want to get hit with. I'll crawl my way over there and position myself. Like if whatever. Maybe I've decided I got an idea. Like okay, maybe I'm in a match and it's a Ravens rules match, and there's a chair in the ring for whatever reason, and maybe later on in the match we're gonna have a drop to hold on the chair, and I'm gonna sell, and I'm gonna sell. And so I'm fucking selling, and the chair's right there in the corner. So maybe I'm like, you know what, I can get another spot out of this thing. You know, because it's not set up, you know, because maybe I'm thinking off the top of my head, we have some time here, I can get something else out of this. And I'll grab the chair, like I'm using it to boost myself up, and I'll wedge it in the corner for between the second and third rope. And then fucking, as the guy comes to get me, I'll spin, I'll drop back and dump his head into the corner. Whatever. I'm just saying, you can make shit up as you go. You know, that's the great thing about working, is you can make it up as you go. You don't have to be set with what, you know, like, and that's what's so great about it. And you can set your things up for your opponent. Like, maybe, like an example being if, let's say we're going to do a spot with the drop hold on the chair, and I'm the baby face, and for whatever reason the chair gets knocked over before we get to use it, but I'm in the ring selling, okay? So we're like, let's say it's a double down, and let's say the chair should be set up like this.
Tell them real quick what a double down is.
A double down. That's when both guys are knocked out. Both guys are knocked down at the same time. So let's say, do you have a steel chair, Gary? Anywhere in the office? No? No, don't worry about it. Anyway, so let's say it's a double down. And let's say the steel chair is supposed to be sitting up like this, because once we both come up, there's going to be a double down. I mean, there's going to be a drop hold on the chair. Except the chair got knocked over somehow. Somehow, whatever the move was before, the chair got knocked over. I'm the baby face, so maybe because I know the chair's supposed to be up, and I know where we're going, to save time, instead of making it look choreographed like he's trying to pick it up, set it up, pick me up, shoot me off, because that's going to take up a bunch of time and a bunch of momentum. Because momentum's another key point I want to get to later. Write that down, momentum. Momentum's very key, which we may not even get to this tape, because that's a pretty advanced concept. What I'll do is I'm laying on the ground. Maybe I'll use the chair as a crutch to boost myself up. And then I'll open the chair up like accidentally, like I'm actually using the chair to boost myself up. Boom, and now he picks me up. Chair's already set. Nobody even realized that I was actually setting the chair for him. I was using the chair as a crutch to boost myself up, when in actuality, I was actually setting the chair up for him. That's called working. It's called thinking on your feet. And we're back! Remember that Saturday Night Live sketch with, what's his guy's name? Jimmy Fallon? Where he's a DJ, he's like, yeah, we're back! He's a DJ. Oh, it's fucking hilarious. Anyway, I think it's like a 20-minute break, so I think what we were talking about, I was going to talk about a match, this is the idea of working. And There was between two guys, and well, okay, I'll give you an example. AJ, I'll actually just say who it was. It was AJ and somebody else, and I forget who. And whoever it was, the referee fucked up, ended the match, goes 1, 2, 3, but the guy kicked out. Because it was supposed to be the finish, I think, but somehow they didn't hit it well enough, or whatever reason, they decided not to make it the finish, or it wasn't the finish, and the ref counted 3, and they kicked out. And it was a title match, and I think the belt changed hands, or whether maybe the belt didn't change hands, but it didn't really matter because it was a hell of a fucking match, and it was a pay-per-view and TNA pay-per-view.
Was it Kazarian?
Might have been Kazarian. I think it was Kazarian. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Did the belt change hands on that?
I don't remember. I never saw any though.
Anyway, it was a hell of a fucking match. I thought Kazarian was. I think he's so improved. I'm a big mark for Kazarian. He's a guy who did all crazy high spots, and now he's learned to temper it with selling and Shakespeare and work, and much more rounded worker now. I'm a big mark for him. Anyway, and I'm a huge mark for AJ too. Anyway, so this is an insult on AJ or anybody else because I'm a huge AJ mark. Anyway, but this is working as opposed to performing. When you're used to performing, you don't think on your feet. You just go out and you do a bunch of moves, and then the match ends, and that's it. When you work, you think on your feet. You're used to thinking on your feet. You're used to calling stuff. You're making stuff up, and you're used to. You don't like things can happen that aren't supposed to happen, and that's cool because you go. It's kind of like it's a problem happens and you fix it. It's like Captain Kirk, the Kobayashi Maru. Like, that's one of my favorite movie scenarios ever. If you ever watch Star Trek, which I was never a Star Trek fan, but I love the movies. I never watched a TV show. But in the movie, there's this thing called the Kobayashi Maru, and Captain Kirk was the only one to defeat it. And what it is it's called it's a scenario called the Kobayashi Maru. It's the unwinnable scenario. And they put every Starfleet commander in it, and there's no way to win. So, and what it is it's, because you end up getting your whole crew killed, and you get killed, but it's a drill, it's a test drill, and it's to show how you do under potentially death situation and under the pressure situation. And so because it's unwinnable, it's except Captain Kirk won. He's the only one who's ever beaten the unwinnable scenario. And it's like, well, how do you beat a scenario that you can't possibly beat? And so throughout the movie, Kirstie Alley as a Vulcan keeps asking him before she got really fat, and because you don't want a fat Vulcan, and so anyway, instead of a mind melt, she was eating a patty melt, I think. Anyway, yes, thank you. I'll be here all night. Liquor in the front, poker in the rear. Tip the VO, push your waitress. Anyway, so she's like, finally, the way he won the Kobayashi Maru was he changed the rule. He changed the scenario so that he could win. So he won the unwinnable scenario. But the whole thing is that he always was willing to think on his feet, and I love that about the character, was that he refused to lose. He always knew there was a solution to any problem. And I think that's the way about wrestling. Like, if I book myself or somebody books me in a storyline and somebody doesn't make it, I'll think of a way to fix it. I try to fix any problem, and it's kind of sad, but I almost like when problems happen because I like trying to figure out solutions. And what happens is when you only will perform instead of working, you're not in any kind of mindset to fix problems because you're not expecting any. You go, okay, this happens, and this happens, this. And it gets even worse because if something does screw up, it totally throws off the sequence of events, so you're in even worse shape because not only you're not expecting things to fuck up, but it throws everything off and it throws all the other links down the thing. So what happened is in the match with AJ and Kazarian, the ref counted the 3, but it wasn't a 3 count, and they rung the bell, and the thing was over, and it's the end of the pay-per-view, and it really screwed the pooch, to use an old military saying. So it really sucked. What a shitty way to end the show, right? And I told AJ, I was like, fuck. I go, AJ, why didn't you just grab the microphone, tell the ref to come over? I mean, and I don't blame him because he's not used to being in this kind of scenario. But this is why I prefer to work. Like I said, I set a lot of stuff up, but I prefer to be on my toes at all time. Prefer to set up a lot, call a lot of stuff in the ring, set stuff up, but have a lot of room for mobility to freewheel if I can, because when scenarios come up, I like to be in a mindset where I can fix them, because problems are always going to occur. And just for an example, last week Watts tore his shoulder out. He broke his shoulder, separated his shoulder, tore his trap. We had to completely work around that. You know what I mean? So in the match, I know I digress, but anyway, so in the match, so the 3 count happens, AJ's like, and the match happens and it ends and they come back and AJ's fucking pissed, Kazarian's pissed, everyone's mad at the referee, and You know, it sucked for all parties, and it was a shitty way to end the show. And I was like, AJ, fuck. I go, you know what? I said, no, not to be a dick, but this is what I would have done. And just for next time, this is what I would do. Grab the microphone. Tell the referee, hey, listen. And because AJ's a babyface, I said, look, I don't want to win the belt, because I think AJ won the belt, actually. I go, look, I don't want to win the belt that way. And even if he retained it, I still would. I said, look, I don't want to retain it this way. I don't want to win the belt this way. You know, that was only a 2 count. You fucked up. It was a 2 count. Restart the match. I want to win it fair and square. That's it. Restart the match. I mean, that's simple. But the problem is, when all you do is perform, when the script goes off, you're not in any kind of mindset to fix a problem of that magnitude. But really, it's not that big a problem. I mean, it looks like this monstrous problem. Like, fuck, how do you fix that? But I mean, that's a pretty simple solution, isn't it? Just grab the mic, say, look, I don't want to win this way. Restart the match. Oh, okay. Restart the match. Boom, 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 boom. Make some audible, call the thing, boom, boom, boom. Hit him with the Styles Clash. 1, 2, 3, it's over.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe a minute if you want to drag it a little bit just to build, you know, because you don't want to go right into it. But I mean, it's that simple. Once again, it's a complex problem with a really simple solution. Or it's a really simple problem with a really simple solution. I mean, it seems, that's what I love about wrestling. A lot of stuff seems really complex, but it's really fucking simple. A lot of stuff seems really simple, it's really complex. I love how wrestling has all the gamuts, you know what I mean? It's, like I was listening to Corny talk one day, Cornette, and he was like saying, like, you know, in any other sport, basically, baseball, you catch a ball, you throw the ball, you run around the bases. I mean, there's not a lot of room for, there's not a lot of instruction. You know, in football, you basically block if you're a lineman, you know your plays, you block, you do certain things. There's no room for variation. In wrestling, you know, there's so much, it's so much more complicated than any other sport because at any given moment, you could do any different scenario. There is no, you know, unless you're just performing, there is no tried and fast way for any scenario. So, like, you know, if you do, if that happens, you know, fuck, what do? You know what I mean? You can make up, no other sport do you have to be able to think on your feet at all times. And unfortunately, in wrestling, it's getting to the point where you don't have to think on your feet either. You know, and that's a sad, sad state of affairs. So, and this isn't, and once again, this isn't to burn AJ, it isn't to burn Kazarian or anybody, because, you know, at their point in the business, I don't expect them to fix the problem like that. But I wanted to put in their head that really is, because at that time, I mean, that's a huge fucking thing, and to them it was like, I mean, what a hell of a fucking match they had, you know? And it seems like such an insurmountable problem. But it's really just a really tiny, simple solution. However, it doesn't look like a simple solution because it seems like such a complex thing. Very simple. And that's the whole thing, you know, the Kobayashi Maru, whatever. You know, there's always a way to fix things, and that's what's cool about wrestling is, you know, is the opportunities that present itself to be able to do so many things on the fly. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there's so many storylines that have happened in the past that somebody was supposed to show up, they didn't show up, so somebody else filled in, got over, and became a major star. I mean, stuff like that. So many cool, different things have happened because of problems, you know, one guy didn't do this, or something was supposed to happen, but it didn't happen, so this happened instead. Look at the Bret Hart thing. Bret Hart fucking didn't want to drop the belt, so Vince screwed him. It turned into two of the biggest money-making years they ever had because Vince became a heel. Completely unintentional. Having nothing to do with that, you know. Whereas if they would have stuck strictly by the plan, which was, you know, whatever, instead of going, hey, look, this opened up an opportunity. You know, whether they screwed Bret or they didn't, you know, however you look at it, doesn't really matter because it's irrelevant. It gave them an opportunity to go a completely different direction that became some of their biggest money-making years that they ever had, you know, with Vince as a heel. It's just, that's the great thing about wrestling. And when you only perform, you close off the doors of opportunity, you know? I know that's a big tangent, but I get off on certain things. You had a question before about this. I forgot.
When you cut out the shine, when your time gets cut, when you have to cut it out, does the heel just go right off and heel the babyface to cut the shine out? Just
when I talked about that, I forgot to mention, I'm not a big fan of jump starts. In fact, I hate jump starts unless there's a reason. Like 2 weeks ago on TNA, of course, whenever you watch this, it's going to be probably a long time ago, but 2 weeks ago on TNA, I did a jump start with some job guy, but it made sense for me for the way my storyline was. I got beat by Watts in a pay-per-view, and I was livid, so I was just looking to hurt somebody. I wrote pain and paint on my chest, and I just came out, just stormed right into the ring, started beating the crap out of this jobber. To me, that made perfect sense because, I wasn't in any kind of mood to wait to beat somebody up. I just wanted to hurt somebody. For the most part, I don't believe in jump starts because I think what happens is I think it's a cheap shortcut that's unnecessary, and I think it takes away from the fact that when you do need a jump start, that they become less significant because they're happening all the time. Like, but then by the same token, I think some people think brawling on the floor is a cheap shortcut too. So everybody has their own taste. Like so everybody has their own particular taste of what they think. So that's an opinion thing. But I'm just a big fan of starting the match the way it's supposed to start. And to answer your question, even though I got off on a rant, is I think that if you're going to cut out the shine, I wouldn't have a jump start. I mean, unless you're really that pressed for time. I mean, if you're cut from like 8 to 3, then yeah, just go ahead and jump it. You know what I mean? I would just start out, lock up, let the heel back into the corner, whatever, pull you back by the hair, stick a thumb in your eye, and then just start beating the crap out of you or whatever. You know what I mean? I wouldn't jump start it, but I would just have the heel immediately get on you. Or if there's enough time, maybe fucking, maybe the heel grabs a headlock, babyface shoots him off, bump, and then gets cut off. Maybe the babyface gets a couple bumps in. I mean, it doesn't have to completely eliminate the shine. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if you had a 3-minute shine, maybe he only gets to throw 2 bumps in. I mean, it's not as cut, and once again, it's not as cut and dry as just eliminate the shine. But that's just the quick fix. You know what I mean?
And then the heel should cheat just to.
Yeah, but the heel should definitely cheat to get the advantage. At least just at least to give himself an opportunity to get the advantage. Even though cheating really isn't. In your company, cheating is actually more of a big deal than it is other places.
Or it could just be a cheap tactic, like a finger to the eye.
Right, exactly. Just maybe a thumb to the eye, just long enough so you can suplex the guy on his head.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So I mean, it's not as cut and dry as basically just start the heat. But I mean, I generally, but if you're that cut and press for time, yeah, just start right to heat. Maybe if you want to give him a bump or two and then cut him off is fine. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's it's all open to interpretation, but I'm just saying if you need to cut out 3 minutes, or 4 minutes, or 2 minutes, or 5 minutes, the easiest way to cut it out is just hack the shine off, or a percentage of the shine. Because that way, the best thing about that is it doesn't require a whole lot of thought. You don't have to cut and paste. You don't have to go, well, take some of this, 2 from column A and 3 from column B. And of course, once column B is the heat, once you start taking from the heat or the comeback, you're fucking your match anyway. So all you're going to take anyways from the shine, so you might as well just hack the good, huge chunk of it. You know what I mean?
Cool. The hope spots.
Hope spots. Oh, actually, let me see. There's still babyface shine. Let's see what babyface sympathy. Before we get to the hope spots, let me think of anything or anything else. You want to open your body up. Always open your body up. Always feed. Always, let's see.
Feed. Can you explain that?
Feed, meaning, put yourself in a position to be hit. You know what I mean? Like hypothetically, like if the heel's in the center of the ring, and he's standing there, and here's a good example. Like, let's say he's working Gaga. Let's say Gaga is just talking trash. Let's say he's in the center of the ring, going, get up, get up, get up. So maybe fucking, I start to get up with my back to him. And then, I start to get up, and then I'll turn right into him so he can knock me right back down. That's feeding him. You know what I mean? As opposed to just crawling right to him. You try and make it as unique as you can. Instead of just crawling to him and let him just kick you around, maybe you try and get up to your feet, but you turn right into him so you get knocked right back down. You want to make it as unique and different as possible. You don't want to ever make it look the same twice. It's like a snowflake. You want to make them all look different, but by the same token, there is so much room for repetition because from week to week, because let's face it, nobody can remember what the hell happened a week before. It's like people go, oh, I don't want to be too similar to my match last week. Well, let's face it, you're not going to be, because even if you are, no one's going to fucking remember. Because let's say I wrestle Gabe on a Monday night, and then we're going to wrestle again in the same town a week later. Well, if there was 8 matches, trust me, nobody's going to remember if me and Gabe have the exact same match. If we have the exact same, maybe, but if we have a couple of the same spots or a couple of similar things, no one's going to remember. So, you don't have to worry. So that's just another thing. People go, I don't want to make it too similar. I wouldn't worry so much about that. I would just worry about having good matches. You know what I mean? Perfect good matches before you worry about getting too, stick to as basic as you can until you can perfect that. And by basic, I don't mean take all the high flying out. I mean basic as far as strategy. Shine, heat, comeback. As simple as that. The don't have 80 million high spot fucking hope spots because fucking you're gonna just like, oh, we'll move into hope spots now. Hope spots are baby faces getting beat up, and a hope spot is basically designed to keep you alive. It's like you start the fight back, or you do a little move or something before you get cut back off, so it looks like you're still alive, like you're not just laying there getting your ass kicked the whole time. So it's showing some fire, like we talked about before. So, hang on a sec. You want to keep your high spots where, actually the biggest problem with high spots today, before we get into that, I forgot, we actually have a steel chair now. And as I was talking about before, I forgot we have the steel chair. And this is part of being able to work. Remember I was saying before, if you, like, using the chair, I was using the chair to set it up for my opponent, to feed my opponent, to set him up. So if I'm laying there on the ground, right, and I'm selling, and I'm trying to get up, and notice how I'm not looking at the ground, I'm looking up. So at least if there's a handheld camera over there, it's going to pick me up, or at least those whole audience can see me. And I'm using this as a crutch to help boost myself up. And now I'm resting on it, so it's not like I'm just setting it up to just set it up. And now I'm panning, you know what I mean? And now I'm trying to get up, and he can come pick me up right there. Chair's already set up. Voila. He didn't have to come, set it up, pick me up, shoot me off. It's already set. But it's set up so unobtrusively that it looks organic to the match, as opposed to the guy just picking it up, setting it up. It's just another way of doing something where it looks much more organic as opposed to choreographed. And to me, the more organic anything can look, and by organic I mean natural to the match, as opposed to just, choreographed or being placed there, the better it is. So, I'm blowing myself up. Hope spots. So with hope spots, the biggest problem you run into with hope spots is the babyface ends up looking too strong through his own fault, not the heel's fault, and then you have to start the heat all over again, and that fucking drives me nuts.
What's the definition of a hope spot?
Oh, I just defined it. Weren't you paying attention, Gabe?
Yeah, I was.
Pay attention. The hope spot, once again, for Gabe, is when the baby face is getting beat up, and it's a spot designed to, where he does something to show some fire, to get some offense on the heel before getting cut back off. So it looks like the potential of a start of a comeback, but he gets cut off before it gets going anywhere. But it also shows that he's still alive, that he's still in the game. But it's also like, oh, look, he's going to make a comeback. Oh, crap, he got cut off. That's all. And but it's very exciting and very dramatic when used correctly. When used too often, what it does is it kills the heat. When not used often enough, what happens is the babyface looks kind of weak and dead, unless he's a really good seller. But it flattens the match out if not used enough. So it has to be used very judiciously. And generally, mostly I watch them, they're used too much. Very rarely are they used too little, because baby faces are usually too worried about looking strong, and so they make sure they look strong enough. And invariably, they end up putting too many hope spots, and then they look too strong, and the heat doesn't look strong enough, so the comebacks are no good. Because what I told you before is, if the heat isn't strong enough, the comeback doesn't look great. Because if the baby face isn't beat up enough, then the comeback doesn't mean enough. And I can't stress that enough. You gotta beat the baby face down, and baby faces you gotta sell. You have to fucking sell. So if you have a 10-minute match, and let's say in a 10-minute match, 2 minutes of shine, a minute and a half of just bullshit, 2 minutes of shine, so that's 3.5, 4 minutes of heat, that's 7.5, 2 minute comeback, a minute and a half comeback, that's 9, and maybe a minute to go home, that's 10. So like 4 minutes of heat. So say you got 4 minutes of heat going, and that 4 minutes of heat, if you got 4 hope spots, that's fucking too much. Because that means every minute the guy's getting up fighting back, and so how much heat do you have? Every time he gets up and starts fighting back, it takes some of your heat away. And if he's up every minute, it takes all your heat away. And if he's getting up fighting back full steam, it's taking all your heat away. And the longer he's on his feet running around, the more of your heat he's draining, and the stronger he's looking. And so that when you finally do shut him down, then you got to start from scratch. So now you're only getting, so let's say you're going to get 4 minutes of heat. And let's say at about the halfway point, you do a big hope spot where he's running around bumping you like crazy, and then you cut him off, but he bumped you so good and he looks so strong that now, basically, you got to start your heat over again. So now you're only going to get 2 minutes of heat, which is stupid. He thinks that he got himself over. What he did was he fucked himself with his own comeback. and he fucked you in your heat, but he fucked both of you because he's an egomaniac. And that's generally what happens, and it happens more often than not. And it happens so often, it's ridiculous. And when it happens, it makes the match look like a back and forth match, and which as much as people think, oh, back and forth, yeah, it's good, it's even. No, matches shouldn't look that even, not at that point. They end up being even in the end, but they shouldn't look even as they're going. The babyface should be winning in the beginning, the heel should be winning during the heat, and then the babyface should be winning towards the end until it finally becomes back and forth during the fucking comeback. I mean, after the comeback, sorry, not during, but after the comeback, during the false finishes and the finish. But the heel should be winning during the heat for the majority of it, and the babyface should finally be winning during the comeback. And it's that fucking simple. You know, because the whole point is you're building, okay, if you're watching a sporting event, and your favorite team, you know, let's say your favorite team's the Eagles, and if they're neck and neck the whole way, that's not as exciting as if they're down by 20, and then they start making a comeback in the fourth quarter. That's the whole point of wrestling, is every match is the babyface is making a comeback down in the fourth quarter, you know, or the third period of hockey, or, you know, the ninth inning of baseball. That's the whole point. Nobody gets this. It's fucking simple. Nobody gets it. Think about this for a second. I'm going to try and explain it in no uncertain terms. All right. If you're watching a football game, and we'll just use football for argument's sake. I don't care what sport you like, because I don't like any of them. But let's say you watch, because I like unorganized sports like roller derby and wrestling. But, you know, we're the world's strongest man. I like unorganized sports. Anyway, so let's say you're watching football, right? And let's say your team is the Eagles. So let's say the game's 7-0, 7-7, and they're playing the Giants, 14-7, 14-14, 20. It's back and forth. I mean, it's pretty exciting, but okay. Now, let's say the Eagles are down 28-0 going into the fourth quarter. And let's say they start making a drive in the fourth quarter. It's 28-7, 28-14, 28-21. Holy fuck, that's fucking exciting, right? That's much more fucking exciting. You gotta wait till the fourth quarter, but goddamn, that's the hottest fourth quarter ever. That's what wrestling is. It's a fourth quarter show. That's all it's about. Same thing with the other sports. So that's what you're doing. Whereas if it's neck and neck the whole way, you don't get that fourth quarter excitement. And that's what the whole match is built for, that fourth quarter excitement. And that's what's so cool about the fact that it's worked, is you can make it that. It's like a boxing. If you're watching boxing, and let's say fucking it's Ali versus fucking, let's say it's Ali Tyson, you know, which is never going to happen. But let's just say it was Ali Tyson. And let's say you pulled them both out of their primes, put them in a time machine and put them together. And let's say fucking Tyson is mauling Ali. And Ali's doing and Ali's doing his rope-a-dope. And Tyson's destroying Ali for about 7, 8, 9 fucking rounds, right? And you're like, God damn, fight back, fight back. And finally Ali starts turning on in the 10th and the 11th, and he fucking starts doing the Ali shuffle. And fucking Tyson's getting rocked and rolled, then he starts biting the fucking ear, you know what I mean? It's fucking exciting. You want to make it and save your drama. If you fucking have it back and forth, you don't have that same kind of drama. Neck and neck is not as dramatic, but until it gets to the end. Neck and neck is dramatic at the very end, but it's much more dramatic if he comes from behind and then it starts going neck and neck. So, back to the Eagles. So the Eagles are down 28-0. It's the fourth quarter at 28-7, then 28-14, 28-21, 28-28. But then the Giants score, so it's 35-28. Then the Eagles score 35-35. Then it's a field goal, 38-35. Then it's a third field goal, 38-38. Then fucking somebody fucking gets a gets a safety, and it's 40-38, and that's the game. I mean, that's fucking exciting. If it was neck and neck the whole way, you wouldn't have that drama. So that's what wrestling is. So it's fucking the baby face is up. So rephrase it a little more. To condense this, make it even tighter. The Eagles are up 7-0 in the first quarter, right? The Eagles are up 7-0. Now they're up 14-0 in the first quarter. Now let's leave it 10-0. They get a touchdown and they get a field goal. They're up 10-0. But then the Giants fucking they have some shitty call by the fucked up ref, the heel referee, right? And now they get the advantage. And it's fucking 7-10, then it's 14-10, 21-10, 28-10. Now they're up 28-10 going into the fourth quarter. You're like, motherfucker, fuck those fucking Giants. Fuck them. Fuck that heel ref that fucked the 3 shitty calls, and now they're way ahead. It's 28-10. The Eagles shined in the beginning in the first quarter. Then the Giants got their heat in the second and third quarter. It's 28-10. The Eagles are way behind. You know, and just substitute your favorite teams for this. It's 28-10. Then they get a drive. It's 28-14. Then it's 28-20. And you get the point. Now it's 28-28. That was the comeback when they went from 28-10 to 28-4, 20, whatever, until they tied at 28-28. That was the comeback. Now you go into the false finishes when when one guy scores, the next guy scores, one guy scores, the next guy scores. That's the false finishes, back and forth, until finally somebody wins. That's what it's about. If it's neck and neck the whole way, you don't have that great drama at the end. And that's what's so great about wrestling. Because it's worked, you can make every match have that kind of drama. That simple. But it's that complex too. So, you want to have a hope spot to keep your baby face strong enough, not strong so much as alive. You want to keep him where the people go, God damn, he's showing some heart. But you don't want to keep him too strong where the people go, yeah, fucking kick his ass, because you don't want him to think he's that strong yet. Because if he's that fucking strong, he should be making his full-blown comeback. So, let's watch Raven drink water for my next trick. You don't want to watch him. You don't want the fans going make the whole comeback now. You don't want him thinking he's that strong in that kind of position. You almost want to give him a taste of, is he going to make it? Oh, fuck. That's the whole excitement of it. Here, oh, crap. You know what I mean? You want to build it up and hang him. You know what I mean? Hang him out to dry. You know, it's kind of like when you're jerking off, you're like, yeah, and you pull it back. Just when you're about to get in that, you're like, no, not yet. You know what I mean? You want to let it wait. And you're like, ah. You know, and the girl's like, come on, shoot it in my eye, shoot it in my eye. Oh, you motherfucker. You know, and she's laying on the bed all spread eagles. He's like, yeah. What? No, come on. You know, or whatever, you know. Or maybe it's your dog if you're into animals, you know, whatever. You know, maybe it's your sheep if you live in Arkansas. Anyway, so you want to have a hope spot. And the hardest thing to teach people about hope spots is if you're fighting back and you're at full strength, you're already fucking your heel and you're fucking yourself because you're looking too strong. You want to be fighting back while you're still in the cell. You want to be fighting back. Yeah, that's why I like hope spots like small packages, backslides. I like hope spots like, I like to turnbuckle the guy. Maybe I charge him, the guy puts a boot up. Maybe the guy charges back at me and I power slam. Watch that, I wouldn't do a power slam. You know, something like that, you know what I mean? Something where the guy is basically never really has a... The guy's basically fighting from underneath the whole way. You know, it's like you turnbuckle him and you charge, he puts a boot up. So it's like a desperation, boom, he gets a boot up. Maybe then he charges at you, but the last second you just drop toe hold on him and slap the ankle lock on him or something. You know what I mean? So he never really had a chance, but I got a desperation. He barely got a foot up. He tried to take the advantage by charging you, but you just shut him right back down. You know, I don't like to do hope spots where the guy's standing toe-to-toe going bam, bam, because I think it makes him look too strong and it kills the heat and it kills the comeback. The only exception to that rule is if your crowd is so fucking hot and they're screaming the guy's name so loud, then you almost got to make that exception. And that happens sometimes, because when it's that hot, it's a different case in point. And I don't know why that is, and if I thought about it long enough, I could probably tell you, but I don't exactly know why that is. But sometimes, and there are always exceptions to every rule. There's always exceptions. So everything I tell you is my theory, it's my opinion. I think you're going to talk to most people from Jim Cornette on down. I think they'll probably agree with most everything I say. But once again, there's always exceptions to every rule. Standing toe-to-toe, fighting back, bam, bam, bam. You know, if that's going to happen, if you are put in that position, at least be like, bam, ah, bam, ah, bam. You know, at least be doubled over in some kind of agony, either during the punching or between punches or something. You know what I mean? And the only time I really ever can envision that happening is if you've got, like, you know, a crowd of like 15,000 and they're screaming your name. Or, you know, if it's a smaller arena and if you got a sold out building screaming your name and their lungs are screaming, then I think that's an exception. Because it's almost like you have to because they're giving you so much. They're putting so much into you that you almost have to give it back to them at that point before you get cut off. But that's the exception. For the most part, and that doesn't happen a lot because most babyfaces aren't that over, and most crowds, and there's a lot of crowds that aren't that hot, but you got to be an over motherfucker to get a crowd chanting your name that hot out of nowhere during the heat. You know, when so that's going to be an exception to the rule. And once again, if you are going to be in that position, at least be doubled over, at least be holding your side or your head, or bam, ah, bam, you know what I mean? At least show some anguish between each thing and try to get cut off rather quickly after 2 or 3 punches, you know what I mean? And, another important thing as a babyface, always have a way to cut yourself off. Because let's face it, even if you have a really good heel, there's going to be times where he gets lost and forgets and can cut you off. So always have a way to cut yourself off in the back of your head. You always need backup plans for everything. I got a backup plan for every scenario, and I got a backup plan for every backup plan. And that's the great thing about working as well. When you perform, you got no backup plans unless you actually put a backup plan in. Because I worked for so many years, I got backup plans on top of backup plans. And as a babyface, I know that no matter what happens, if I start fighting back or if I start doing something, you know, maybe with my knees and I start throwing punches and maybe the crowd starts screaming Raven, bam, I start throwing punches. If the heel doesn't cut me off after 2 punches or 3, I'm going to shoot him off and I'm going to bend over for a backdrop and say kick me, and I'm going to take a big bump, or I'm going to turnbuckle him and say put your foot up, and I'm going to run into his boot and take a bump. It's that simple. I got two simple ways to knock myself out. You know, I always got 2 backup plans to stop myself. You got to have ways to stop yourself because you might screw your heel up and your heel might be, you know, whatever. He could get hurt. He could get dazed. He could get lost. He could get confused. You know, so have ways of cutting yourself off too. You know, so you know that even if you make a rally, you're going to be cut off, because if you start there's nothing worse than making a rally and the heel doesn't cut you off. And then you're just hitting them, and he's not bumping because he's waiting, because he's trying to think of a way to stop you. So you're fucking just throwing punches. The crowd's starting to die on you because you've been hitting them so much, but nothing's happening. And it's going nowhere. You're killing this heat. You're killing your comeback for later. So always have a way to cut yourself off. But to be safe, stick with hope spots, you know, and set up a few in the back. But honestly, you know, if you're in 4 minutes of fucking heat, you're not going to need more than 1 or 2 good hope spots anyway. At the fucking most. You know, I mean, 2 good hope spots, and make sure that and like I said, most important things, when you're running, make sure you're running like you're hurt, you know, and make sure your face is showing some pain, you know, god damn, when you're running, you know, don't be running like, you know, or like, yeah. Like, I get on all these guys at TNA, like, a lot of those guys, they're all my buddies, but they fucking their face, once they start doing something offensive, they forget all about the fact that they're hurt, and they just start running around like they're fucking not hurt. And I'm like, what are you doing? Aren't you supposed to be hurt? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, look at the tape. Do you look hurt? They're like, no. I go, why? They're like, well, I thought, and they'll be like, well, I thought, you know, I was fighting back. I'm like, yeah, but the people at home think you're supposed to be hurt. They're like, well, like another good point is after the match. Guys after the match are always, you should still be hurt after the match. This is another pet peeve. After the match, guys are always like, yeah, we won. I'm like, well, fuck, aren't you hurt? They're like, well, yeah, but I'm pretty excited I won. I go, you just got the shit beat out of you. You barely won, and now you're like, hey, I'm not even hurt. They're like, well, they're like, well, I'm feeling better now. I go, it's a work, right? They go, I'm not that hurt after the match. I'm like, as a shoot, you're not hurt, but as a work, aren't you the shit beat out of you? They're like, well, yeah. I go, then don't you think you should sell it? They're like, oh, yeah. Like, because as a work, as a shoot, they're thinking, well, I'm not that hurt anymore. You know, I made it through the match. I'm okay. You know, I'm a little tired, I'm a little winded, but I'm okay. I go, yeah, but this is a work. So as a work, weren't you just selling the crap out of your ribs? Yeah, well, then shouldn't you still be selling the fuck out of them? So, yeah, so to jump ahead, but just because it's a pet peeve, whenever you're at the end of a match, guys are always like, well, how do I celebrate and fucking act hurt? The easiest way is, yes, I won. Oh, my fucking ribs. Yes. Ah. Take a deep breath, a couple deep breaths. Yes. Yes. You pick snoring because you should always be out of breath after a match. I don't care if fucking as a work, you're like this. As a shoot, I don't care if it's a shoot, you're like this. As a work, you should always be breathing hard. A match goes more than 6 minutes, you should be sucking wind. Because otherwise, it's a fucking... How else are you going to convince people at home it fucking is hard to do if you're not even winded after a 20-minute... After a 20-minute match, if you're not winded, why does the guy at home think this shit hurts? They're like, well, fuck, he's not even winded. So be like... Yes. God damn, this fucking hurts. Oh. Fuck. Yes. And just back and forth like that. Just back and forth. It's simple. It's fucking simple. But the whole point is, it's like, I'm not a birdie guy. I was talking to one of my good buddies the other day, and he's like, well, I'm not winded. Why would I be winded? I'm like, it's a fucking work, numbnuts. Of course you're not winded. I don't expect you to be winded after a match. But you have to portray it to the people at home. That's why nobody at home, you know, it's like, people really, like, I love the fact when I first started, well, I hated the fact when I first started, people go, it's fake. And I'm like, No, no, it's not. I was so embarrassed telling people it was real because it looked so phony when I started. And now I'm so proud of the fact that now people go, look, I know the outcome's predetermined, but goddamn, you guys are killing each other. I love that because it shows so much respect for our business. But what I'm afraid's happening is now people go, man, that looks pretty cool, but people are starting to think it doesn't hurt that much. Because all these guys bounce around and then they get up after the match like, hey, I'm okay. Well, fuck. Yeah, you're okay because you've been doing it for 10 years, so of course you're used to it. But to the schmuck at home, it's going to kill him. But if you don't act like you're hurt, especially because it's a storyline, it's not real life. Yes, in real life, you're not hurt. But as a work, you are hurt. And if you don't act like you're hurt, I'm so afraid that in 2 years, people are going to be going, man, that shit don't hurt at all. That shit's pretty cool. That shit's like a trampoline. You guys just bounce around, you get up, doesn't even hurt at all. Because that's what's going to happen. Because none of you motherfuckers sell out there. I mean, it's such a huge percentage don't sell anymore. It's like, I don't get it. Do you want to convince people that it doesn't hurt? I mean, is that what it is? Is that what everybody goes, yeah, because, I mean, it's getting to the point where people are going to start saying, fuck, that shit don't hurt. I see all these 180-pound guys jumping around after the match. They're not even hurt. And then I see guys get hurt during a match for real, and they don't sell it. I'm like, what the fuck is that? They're like, well, I don't want to sell it. I'm like, why? It's a fucking, you really got hurt. I mean, you're trying to sell worked injuries. Now you got a shoot injury, and you're trying to hide a shoot injury? Does that make any fucking sense at all? Okay, does that make any sense?
Nope.
Yeah, you can't shake your head because they can't hear that. It makes no sense at all. I swear to God, I see that happen all the time. Guys hurt themselves for real, and they don't want to sell it. And I'm like, what? How could that possibly make any sense? It's a fake sport. It's a work sport, and they're hiding shoot injuries. The whole idea is the whole idea is to convince people that this shit really hurts. That's the whole idea. Like, the whole idea of making it a work sport is to make it look like it hurts without making it really hurt. That's why they worked it. To make it look like it hurts without making it really hurt. What we do now is we make it look like it doesn't hurt. Well, that's defeating the whole purpose. The whole idea was to make it look like it does hurt without making it hurt. And now we're making it look like it doesn't hurt, and it does hurt. I mean, we're taking more bumps, we're doing more damage to our bodies than they ever did in the history of the business. We've never hurt ourselves more, and yet we're acting like it hurts less than they've ever done. I mean, guys back in the 1950s, like Buddy Rogers, took 3 bumps a whole match, and they acted like it was killing them. We're taking 50 bumps a match and acting like it doesn't hurt at all. Does that make any sense, Gabe?
No.
Doesn't make any sense. The fuck? How does that make any sense? You know, I showed my buddy a Japan tape, right? And he, like, you know, he's a big American wrestling fan. And he's like, what? He goes, I could do that. He goes, I could hit somebody for real. He goes, how hard is that? Like, I watch the Japan matches, and these guys are hitting each other for real. I'm like, where's the art form in that? I mean, granted, it takes a lot of balls to be able to take that kind of pain, but where is the art form? Because this is an art. I was one of the first people to say that this is an art form. This is a fucking art form, okay? So the art form is to make it look like it hurts without actually hurting each other. In Japan, they're hurting each other for real. So I'm thinking, okay, there's no art there. Anybody could hurt somebody for real. That's really not a whole lot of skill. So the art form is making it look like it hurts without actually hurting each other. And now guys are actually hurting each other without making it look like it hurts. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my fucking entire life.
You know what it goes back to, I think, is look how people sold punches in the 80s and the 70s, and look how they sell punches now. That's like a huge thing.
You could sell a punch for 5 minutes, guys. Like, I can't. Like, remember when I was in ECW, right? And we were going to do the chair shot heard around the world, right? Well, it wasn't supposed to be that. Dreamer was going to hit me 10 times, right? And I'm like, no, you're going to hit me once. He's like, no, fuck, everybody gets hit with a chair 5 times here. I got to hit you with at least 10 chair shots to get. I'm like, no, you're hitting me with it once. 1 chair shot is all I'm going to take, and I'm going to sell it like you hit me with 10. He's like, but everybody gets hit with 5. It's not going to mean anything. I go, Dreamer, I don't care what anybody else does in any other match because it's not going to make a difference. Because all that matters is what happens in our match. If you sell it correctly, and that was the whole point of wrestling, is it didn't matter what anybody else did. You had to convince them in your match. Like, you could have, like, and the match right before you has 35 chair shots, right? But if you go in your match and use 1 chair shot and you do it right, like me and Wild, and so we did the 1 chair shot. became known as a chair shot heard around the world, was on the opening of the show for 7 years, was one of the most, well-known things I ever did. It was one chair shot. That's it. And like I told Dreamer, I said, it's all how you do it. The other day, me and Watts had to do something where, I had to lay him out in the he was walking down the hallway, and I had to lay him out with a steel chair, right? And first, Dusty wanted me to hit him in the back with a steel chair. And I'm like, and then we're like, well, fuck, if I hit him in the back, that's not really going to look too good. It's not going to really lay him out. I got to hit him in the head with a chair. And then I'm like, well, fuck, I don't want to hit Eric. He's one of my closest friends. So I'm either going to pull it because he's one of my closest friends, or I'm going to try and overdo it and I'm going to kill him. You know what I mean? I'm like, let me hit him with a garbage can. And they're like, no, a garbage can's not going to hurt. No, everyone knows garbage cans don't hurt. And I go, watch. I guarantee if I swing it right and he sells it right, it's going to look like it hurts every bit as much as a chair. They're like, no, it won't. So I said, Eric, the key to getting this over is you got to take a flat back bump on the cement. He's like, I don't care, that's fine. I swung the garbage can. He took a flat back bump on the cement. The can, of course, doubled because it's a garbage can. They don't hurt. It got over. The crew came out to us afterwards, and they'd seen a million chair shots. They go, "Fuck, you okay, Eric?" Because they'd never seen anybody take a flat back bump on a garbage can shot. It's all how you sell it. And it's so much better than hitting him with a chair because I'd either killed him or I'd have fucking worked it because he's one of my closest friends, and I never would have hit him hard. It would look like ass. You know what I mean? But the garbage can, I fucking wound up and crushed him with it, and he just took a flat back bump, which nobody takes a flat back bump on a garbage can. So it's the illusion of pain, and that's the whole secret to this business. It's an illusion. You make it look like it hurts, but you don't really hurt each other, and that's the secret, And that's the hardest thing to get people to understand. I mean, it was mind-boggling. Where are we at on the babyface thing? I know I got off on...
Anything to close off as far as working on a babyface? And anything that you want to add?
Well, I mean, promos are going to be a whole other tape. I mean, so you're going to have to buy part 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me think. Baby faces. I mean, honestly, look, all the high-flying shit's great. You know what I mean? And one of the most important things is, guys want to learn 30, 40, 50 moves. There's a guy in the business I worked with, and I'm like, yeah, what do you want to do? He's like, oh, I can do anything. And I was like, dude, you can do anything except you don't do anything well. I didn't want to tell him that. I didn't want to hurt his feelings, but he does. Yeah, he can do anything, but everything he does is terrible. Have 4 moves. You should have 4 good moves, and that's all you really need. I mean, if you have more, great, but don't try and learn more because perfect 4. I mean, really perfect 4. Like I perfected the Raven effect, the even flow Raven effect DDT. So that's 1. I perfected the clothesline bulldog in the corner. The face first into the buckle, the guy staggers back, clothesline followed by feeds up, I give him a knee lift, that's 3. The Russian leg sweep into the guardrails, 4. The drop toe hold on the chair is 5. And so those were my, so I was usually like those, and 1 was my finish, so I had 1 move and 4 finishes. I mean, 4 moves and 1 finish. And then after that, I had actually added a few more things over the years because you get stagnant after a while, So I've actually since then I've tried to put 4 new things in because after a 20-year career, well 17 years, you got to. And so now I've tried to put in the super kick, which I never truly perfected, but it's not bad. I started doing face washers, and I'm good. I think I'm gonna start doing the ankle lock, and then a couple other things. And I got the kicks in the corner, and I step on the second rope, snap kick the guy in the head. Slap kick the head. But those things I haven't really perfected because I haven't done them enough yet. But the point being is, and my whole point is get 4 moves. Don't learn 20 moves. Don't learn 30 moves. Don't learn 100 moves. Learn 4 moves. Pick 4 moves, not 4 moves that everybody's doing. Because if you notice, my 4 things are 4 things that nobody else is doing. The rushing into the guardrail, nobody's doing. The drop toe on the chair, nobody's doing. And the clothesline bulldog in the corner and the face first, stagger back, clothesline, nobody's doing. Get 4 moves that no one's doing. Perfect them. Perfect your 4 moves. And you think to yourself, well, 4 moves, that's not enough for a match. Well, yes, it is. Because if I wrestle Gabe, he's got 4 moves. So my 4 and his 4, that's 8 pretty good moves combined with everything else we put into a match. That's a hell of a match. I got my 4 moves now with Carrie. That's going to look totally different than my 4 moves with Ric Flair and his 4 moves. And so every time you wrestle somebody else, it's going to change things up. Plus, you're going to do more than the 4 moves, but you got to perfect your 4. And plus, by perfecting your 4, getting them over time in, time out, time in, time out, then you can start having people move on them. So now you not only have 4 moves, it become 5, 6, 7, 8 moves because guys can move, they can duck, they can slide away from them, you can turn them into other things. But you got to perfect them first. Because once you get them over and they become intrinsic to your move to your character. So you have your 4 moves. Get your 4 moves over. They are so important. Perfect 4 moves. Don't learn 30 moves. Learn 4. Perfect 4. Find 4 that are really good. And then you want to learn how to sell and have fire. Sell and fire. Develop a character, which we'll get into later. Learn promos. And just before we go anywhere with this, always carry a pen and paper with you wherever you go. And write down fucking promo ideas. I carry one with me everywhere I go. I've got promo ideas out the ass. I carry a piece of paper and a pen. And I can't stress this enough. And I write down promo ideas wherever I go, whenever it strikes my fancy. I got ideas that are stupid. I got ideas that are great. I got all kinds of crazy shit. Lines like, I used to get lost in a shuffle. Now I just shuffle along with the lost. I mean, you know, fucked up shit. I mean, then, there is no mortal sin. There are only souls lost in a maze that someone else has made for them. Let's see, hold on. Pouring blood into pouring rain, 1,000 hells in the form of pain, the Raven effect with your name, a time to hurt, a time to dream, a time to reap and time to redeem. I took your best, it's not a test. I'll destroy you now and end my quest. You know, you write shit down and whenever it strikes your fancy, but if you don't have promo material, I'm telling you, you're going to get there, especially when you get to the show, or TNA, you know, but TNA or WWF, you get to the show, they're going to say, hey, we need a promo. And I don't care how good you think you are on the mic, when they tell you got 30 seconds, it's completely different than being good on the mic. Because being good on the mic and be able to ramble for 2 minutes is not like cutting a tight 30 seconds or a tight 15. So they go, hey, we need 30 seconds. I'll take one of those lines, and I'll build 30 seconds around it, and bam, I got me a promo. I know a lot of guys that go, that supposedly are good talkers, that, you know, you give them a mic and they can talk for 2 minutes. You put it in front of a tight 30 seconds, I guarantee you they suck horribly. And I've seen it happen time and again. And that's really important as a babyface too. But that's one of the most important things, you know, just before the tape ends, is always carry a pen and paper, write down promo ideas, character ideas, sell, fire, learn your 4 moves, perfect your 4 moves, keep it simple. The acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Babyface shines, heel gets heat, babyface makes a comeback. Look, it's not that, it's a simple business. We make it complex, but it really is kind of complex when you think about it, but you can keep it simple and make it simple, you know. I mean, this is the greatest art form in the world. When this is done right, there is nothing better. And when this is done poorly, there is absolutely nothing worse. There's nothing more unbearable to watch than bad wrestling. Well, except for really bad wrestling, which is highly entertaining. But bad wrestling, that's really bad wrestling, is good to watch. But just bad wrestling is awful. I mean, it pains me to watch it. Great wrestling, there's nothing better, you know? But, and the problem is most guys fall somewhere in between, which is just annoying. You know what I mean? They're not good, they're not bad, and that does nothing for anybody, you know? If you're going to be really, really bad, hey, that's fucking entertaining. You know what I mean? If you're going to be really great, that's fucking entertaining. But in between, it doesn't really do anything for anybody. It's like, you know, it's like kissing your sister. You know, it's like, you know, it doesn't work. You got to be really, really fucking great, or you have to be so fucking rotten, you know, that it's just so abysmal that it's like a train wreck. You know what I mean? That people can't take your eyes off it, which nobody wants to aspire to that. So you got to aspire to be really fucking great, you know. So the whole thing is just being good, or, you know, isn't good enough. You got to really work on your fucking craft, and you got to fucking take it like an art form, and you got to fucking, you know, you can't just fucking be like, you know, whatever, I'll just fuck Ray, you know. Hey, look, if you don't want to listen to me, that's fine. You know, listen to Cornette or listen to somebody else, but they're going to tell you the same things I'm telling you. You know, it's an art form. And fucking sell and fire. That's it. You know? Hey, all the crazy moves in the world are great, but if you don't sell and have fire around it, they're worthless. You know, I'm telling you. You know, there's a reason why AJ's out of the pack. There's a reason why Kid Cash is out of the pack. That he's not lumped in with all the other cruiserweights. You know? There's a reason why all the cruiserweights are all pretty much lumped together. There's a reason why on the Ring of Honor Gabe show, all those cruiserweight guys are not the top guys. You know, it's Samoa Joe, it's CM Punk, who else?
Homicide.
There's a reason why all the average cruiserweight guys are all kind of lumped in the middle. You know, it's not just because Raven doesn't like them. You know what I mean? I have nothing against them. I love it. Hey, look, I'm in awe of the Athletics. You know, I just think that without selling, it leaves so much to be desired. So if you look at the big picture, look, Ring of Honor's top guys are Punk and Joe, and neither one of them are high flyers. TNA's top fucking the two two cruiserweights that are out of the pack are Kid Cash and AJ Styles. And there's a reason why Cash is out of the pack, because he can talk and he's a character, and he also can work old school style, so he knows when to sell and have fire. And AJ is really improving on that. There's a reason Daniels is coming out of the pack, because he's starting to get it too. You know, there's a reason why Daniels never did get out of the pack before that. As much as everybody in the sheets was like, oh, push Daniels, push Daniels, there's a reason why Daniels never made it out of the pack before. But now he's starting to, because now he's starting to get it. You know, there's a reason why Shawn Michaels is Shawn Michaels. It's not all the crazy flying moves. In fact, you can take all his flying moves away, he'd still be Shawn Michaels. I promise you that. I promise you he'd still draw without all the crazy flying moves. He would still draw every bit as much money. In fact, when he first came back from his injuries and he couldn't fly, he was still Shawn Michaels. You know, I don't know, maybe he does fly, maybe he doesn't anymore. I don't watch it, but I'm telling you, he's still Shawn Michaels. It's not that, it's not the flying that does it. That's just a bonus. That's just icing. That's like having a valet to add to your act. It's just icing on the cake, but it's not the act. Thank you and good night.
Thank you very much, Scotty, and we'll be back with a lot more Secrets of the Ring with you, including working as a heel, promos, ring psychology, all that kind of good stuff.
Cool.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Ring of Honor. Most of you know about the hardest hitting, highest flying, most athletic action offered by ROH. But in case you have missed what fans and critics are raving about, here is your quick introduction to Ring of Honor. ROH features every style of wrestling, from bloody wars to pure wrestling classics. You'll see real characters and compelling storylines that won't insult your intelligence. ROH promotes pro wrestling as a sport with bouts of true skill. You'll see only the top talent. The future of wrestling is now, and the new style is being offered by ROH. You want stars? Check out Mick Foley, Eddie Guerrero, Jeff Hardy, Kojima, Paul London, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Masato Tanaka, Raven, Steve Corino, and many more on past ROH home releases. You want legends? ROH has hosted Hall of Famers like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, the Great Muta, Abdul the Butcher, Jim Cornette, and others. Current superstars like Samoa Joe, the Rottweilers of Homicide, Low-Ki, Ricky Reyes, and Rocky Romero, Bryan Danielson, the Briscoes, CM Punk and the Second City Saints, Dan Mock, BJ Whitmer, and many more make ROH the most talked about product today among those in the wrestling industry. If you get a chance, make sure to check out ROH Live. Now sit back and check out just a few examples of what Ring of Honor has to offer.
Cheering on. The fans are almost watching us in disbelief. And now we have a face wash. Oh, and he's taken off the already busted open head of Jay Briscoe.
Oh, and there's blood on the floor. I'm getting very uncomfortable.
Oh, look at it. It's pouring like a faucet.
Trying to. What's he thinking?
Mark yelling to try to climb over the top of the cage.
Oh my God, look at that. The Crimson Mask right here.
This is not going to last much longer. It has to be stopped soon. If Jay Briscoe manages to survive, it has to be stopped.
Oh! Backdrop driver off the top rope. That's got to be it, Chris. I'm going on record.
New
This
world
is the
champion. No, there's Joe.
Joe's going up top again. This does not bode well for the competitor, for Jay Briscoe.
Look at Briscoe fighting. What an ace crusher off the top rope. The champion is down.
And the fans are going bananas here in the Rexplex. What action we're seeing for the ROH World title.
This is the kind of effort that makes legends. This is the kind of effort that makes you from one of the great ones to one of the immortal ones. And we are seeing it from Jay Briscoe. We are seeing it from Samoa Joe in front of 1,800 fans right outside of New York City.
And the fans now getting behind Jay Briscoe. How could they not?
What an atmosphere. You have to be here live to experience something like this. Both men toe to toe.
Referee! Joseph, what? The lights are out! What's going on here? I can't see anything. What is going on? The lights, I mean, oh my God! Oh my God! What was, Homicide just fireball Joe! Homicide has just absolutely crossed the line. Somebody's at...
Look at this scumbag!
I can understand one thing about being emotional, then 1 second thinking you're the world champion and realizing that you're not. Homicide is snapped! Homicide thought he had the world title, and where did that fireball come from? Look at the crowd! They're shocked, I am shocked, and Hanson's down! He hits Hanson! He hits Brian Gorey! Empty the back! Get the locker room out here! Homicide's gonna kill someone! And Homicide, he's cleaning house! The locker room is emptied! Someone's gonna treat Samoa Joe! And here comes everybody! Someone take out, yes! Look, everyone's going to Homicide now. He has to be restrained, and Joe's finally getting treatment! Oh my God, I can't believe that. No, this is what we're seeing in our
I don't belong here right now, Lovey. I'm gonna go out there and get a closer. Oh look, yeah, I'm definitely getting a closer look. I see the Briscoes out there.
Punk, where are you going? All hell is breaking loose here in Ring of Honor. And Homicide is taking the whole locker room to restrain him and take him to the back. Samoa Joe being treated for that burn. Where did the fireball come from? Who turned out the lights? How did the lights even go out? And there's Punk. What's Punk doing? Punk and Cabana are jumping the Briscoes. And Homicide is tearing up the locker room right now as we speak. It's absolute mayhem in the locker room. It's mayhem out here. Punk and Cabana jumping Jay Briscoe. What's Mark doing? Mark! Shooting star press on the Second City Saints. The Briscoes and the Second City Saints are going at it. Here comes the locker room. Others are trying to restrain Homicide in the back. Artie's going nuts in my earpiece. Homicide is tearing up the back. All hell is breaking loose. I've never seen anything like this in Ring of Honor. What's Cabana doing? Asai moonsault. He saw the Briscoes and hit him with an Asai moonsault. What's going to happen with the Briscoes and Second City Saints tomorrow? Someone's got to break this up. Homicide is tearing up the backstage area. And what? Donna Marcos, they see the Carnage crew down there. They tried to stage dive in their match. And they hit the Carnage crew with the stage dive now. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Where did the fireball come from? A fireball in Ring of Honor. What is going on? How did the lights get turned off? Who turned them off? Was it a plan? What is going on here? DeVito going up now. He's looking for revenge on Donna Marcos. Hold on. All post-show promos are canceled. All post-show promos are canceled because of what Homicide is doing in the locker room right now. Jack Evans joins in with a dime of his own joint. He's not going to be one-upped. Hold on, I think Homicide's heading to this area. I'm out of here. We'll see you in Chicago. Oh, ah!
up on trying to maintain order in this one. Rave avoids that backbreaker and hits one of his own. Now he's going for a Russian leg sweep. No, Strong holds on. And now Strong takes him up. Oh, beautiful variation of a backbreaker. And now we have Walters and Aries going at it again.
Almost a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. And this time the referee being out of position hurts Generation Next.
As we have two factions fighting it out right now. Roderick Strong going at it with Jimmy Rave. And there's a Northern Lights by Walters. But what's Jack Evans doing? Shooting star press. Back suplex on the bridge by Roderick Strong. Shooting star press by Mark. Both men connect. And Mark going to the pin cover. Not quite enough.
Both teams now pulling out all the stops.
They've worn each other down. Mark Briscoe challenging Jack Evans in a battle of shooting star presses. Oh, you don't want to do that with Mark. Mark will fight back and hit harder than anybody. Whoa, what an angle on that back suplex. Mark lands right on his head, and he might be out on his feet, but he's scooping Jack up. Oh, cutthroat suplex. That's what pinned Omar Tortuga before. But Mark too injured to make the cover. Someone's got to cover Jack. Mark Briscoe might be a non-factor. Jack Evans will be a non-factor. And we have a Jay Driller attempt. No, Jay could not get him up because of his knee. Jay now trying to get that adrenaline rush. Yes, he's fighting back, using his last-ditch effort. Jay Driller, that puts them all down. And Roderick Strong rolls to the outside. 450 by Austin Aries on Jay Briscoe. If he can cover him, he's going to win. The 450 pin special K earlier. Aries, though, he's too stunned, too groggy, too tired. Now he makes the cover. This is it. There it is. Walter saving the day for his team, saving Jay Briscoe. And now we have Walters with the injured neck against Austin Aries. Oh, Walters cuts off Aries. Everyone going for their high-impact move. All men are worn down and tired. Oh, he dumps Aries. He wasn't able to hit it the way he wanted because of that injured neck. But Aries is still out. Turns him over, cover. This is it. Jack Evans with the save.
Both teams have had opportunities to win this match. Both times their opponent has been saved. You're going to have to isolate somebody, especially if you want to try to do it with a submission move.
And look at Walters. He is pointing at the neck. He's definitely suffered a serious injury. If he's having Hanson look at the neck like that, Walters might have to be gone. And Jack Evans takes out everyone on the floor with a springboard 450.
Well, that's how you get everything isolated.
And Shelley there goes right to the neck, drapes it across that top rope, which is just a steel cable. Double boot to the back of the neck. And now he's got the Border City stretch. That applies all the pressure on the neck. He's made many men tap with this. And there you see Rave trying to make the save, but Austin Aries cuts him off. The Briscoes are down on the floor. Walters needs to make the ropes. It's his only chance. No, he tries to roll out. But Shelley still has a Border City stretch. He still has it cinched, and Walters taps. It's all over. Alex Shelley, ranked number 3, just made John Walters tap, who's ranked number 5. The crowd on their feet in Philadelphia. Generation Next has established themselves as a force to watch here in Ring of Honor.
Themselves well as the two finalists. Both just tremendous technical wrestlers. Now he's going to block the leg shin buster into a backdrop suplex. Austin Aries, not only is he explosive, but he's explosive in combinations.
He's signaling for that 450. He pins everybody with it. It could be all over if he connects. Oh, Brad Danielson moves, but Aries lands on his feet and gets taken, his head taken off.
Boy, this crowd is just electric. What a match they're seeing.
Who have one of their your all-time favorites, Bryan Danielson against a potential new superstar in Austin Aries. You have to be here live to experience something like this.
Just explodes with a clothesline. Decapitates Aries. That's going to be it. Hooks the back leg. No! Danielson immediately falls up to him with his advantage with a full Nelson.
Dragon suplex.
And with the high bridge. No!
And he's going for count